To order. The date is September 8th, 2025. The time is approximately 2:33. I'll start off with Commissioner Moore, if you would please lead us in invocation, if you will. Stand to your able.
Let's bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, once again, we want to thank you for waking us up this morning to a brand new day. We want to thank you for your grace and your mercy. And we ask that you be with us today as we make decisions. Help us to make those things that are pleasing in your sight. And Father God, bless each and every one of us. Give us strength, understanding, and knowledge to be able to do your will. And we forever praise you and give you the highest praise. All these blessings we do ask in the Son Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States.
Those budgets. Anything that is highlighted in yellow has changed based on those numbers. So if you go to the very top and you look at your tax revenue, if you continue to go down each line item, you'll see if there was something that was changed or added, of course, to balance the budget. We did that for each one. We did have some changes. As you can see in our memorandum to you, we've given what those changes were in between the millage rates. There was something that I wanted to bring to your attention in this at the end of the week. I had been reached out by FMIT and Brown & Brown for them to have an opportunity to submit their best and final offers. Both companies did do that. We received a notably reduced offer for proposal of $208,000 from Brown & Brown. Similarly, FMIT also had considered or demonstrated considerable value discount offered as well at $214,000. The change to their original proposal was that they added the 2-year lock and rate. That's part of that memo. As you can see, the biggest difference between the highest millage rate and the medium or middle millage rate at 8.59 versus the 8.71 on the total budget summary was around $17,894. The difference for the total between the 8.7164 and the 8.434 was $35,407. Given these figures in the context in which they've been presented, staff recommends, of course, maintaining flexibility within our financial framework to account for unforeseen shortfalls or unexpected expenditures that may arise throughout the fiscal year. Considering the known savings achieved this year, it is prudent to recognize that costs typically do escalate annually due to such factors as contractual obligations and material price increases. With that being said, we have a balanced budget for each millage rate, but I really would like for you all to discuss that further.
Okay, commissioners, we can take this on now, or we can take it on at the end. Your pleasure.
Mayor.
Yes.
So what I had to work with for the workshop was the budget documents presented for Wednesday's meeting. And I do have questions about those. I mean, I think that's
what we all worked off of.
exactly.
So
Right.
if you would like, you're welcome to, if you have questions, is it regarding the general fund? Is that where we want to start? That's the question right now. Are we starting with the general fund? Are we going to do that at the end? Or are we going to start with the others?
Well, the one set of questions I have is about the general fund, but it relates back to the ordinance that we have in our packet for the carryover funds. I would find it helpful to go over what exactly that ordinance in the Schedule A does. It's not clear to me what we are doing and whether.
Now, is that the amended budget from this year, or is that the budget as we go forward? Because if that's the case, that would be the amended budget for this current year.
Correct.
Because it has the carryover. This one does not have a carryover.
When you say this one, you mean the current year budget?
No, the one we're here today for.
I mean, the
The one we're
budget that we are
proposing,
trying to pass for
exactly,
2026.
budget.
Yes, no, I am talking about the 2025 amended budget whatever, or I think it's 2025-10 ordinance. I have some questions about that, and
Let's, if we can, let's do that toward the end.
well, if I understood that better, I might have fewer questions about the general fund, because I don't understand there's some
Okay,
ambiguous
commissioners, are
language.
you okay with going over that, just to kind of get some clarification? Commissioners are okay with that, to get some clarifications. I need some head nodding here. Everyone okay with that? Let's go ahead, we're gonna go ahead with it.
Okay, thank you, Mayor, thank you, commissioners.
So I don't know how many of you have your agenda, the book, but you want to gonna go over to the hearing section.
And just for clarification, Mayor, we're talking specifically about the budget amendment that we're proposing to put the carry forward in. Is
Yes,
that correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
is that correct, Commissioner DeVito?
It is, and my questions mainly have to do with, page 12 of 12, the summary.
Okay, we're gonna go back to, it's gonna be actually your second of you that are, I have mine numbered differently, but it's after this, so you can go to your next ordinance in line, which is about that many pages. Still looking at the budget, keep going.
I think so.
You don't feel like you have it in front of you, let me know.
Which one? No, because it's got it's gonna have the ordinance. It's this, it's 2025-10, that ordinance. That is before that. It's before that. Should be actually this next section.
Besides the ordinance, there's 12 pages. It says 1 of 12, or 12 of 12.
You don't have.
And we came through, to ask all these questions that we've already had answered.
I believe you already had it. I believe that was it.
Should have been the budget. That should have been in the very beginning. So that's the proposed budget. I'll get to it in a second. Yeah. Well, I know it's in here because this is it. This should be it.
Mine is 4.
Where is yours, Commissioner?
Actually, then it was
Here it
before
is.
the public hearing.
There it is, I found it.
Oh, that's the order. Mine-
I got it. I'm just here, I'm so sorry.
Mine is a piece of down, so.
Yeah,
We need you to do, I call it.
you're very good here. Okay,
And really,
right there.
okay, and I think the only page I have questions on that affects the discussion of the general fund would be the very last page, page 12 of 12, where it lists, the first line says fiscal year 2023-24 total carry forward, 318,465. Right, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Then, the second line, the 145,455, well, not 100,000, so 45,000. Says included in budget in wage increases 7% plus building repair and maintenance. So,
We've already done that one. That one was approved.
okay,
Time ago.
well, this is what I'm asking the city manager and finance director. So we already allocated that amount.
Yes, ma'am.
So there's the remaining carry forward of 173,010.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so in ordinance 2025-10, does the total amount added come up to a 173,010? Because down of the page, there are two little boxes. One says carry forward used in amended budget is 110,224. And then it says carry forward remaining for fiscal year 26, 62,786.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what is the total amount in ordinance 2025-10 that's being added to the current year benefit?
It should be $110,224.
Okay, so what are we
Not in
doing?
the amended budget. Not in the ordinance 2025-10.
That's what I'm asking.
No, that's not the amount that should be in there. We're doing an amended budget, so 110,000, you've already got right here, we have, yeah, the whole amount should be in there.
Okay.
Okay, but Commissioner, could I ask,
Yes.
when you said the whole amount, do you mean the 173,010 or the whole 318,465?
My understanding was 318,465 because we did not do the amended budget ordinance. We did not do the amended budget ordinance, is that correct, Steve?
That is correct.
Okay, so
Okay,
we've got to do that. And
okay,
it has to
so,
be included in this total, this is just a breakout. Is that correct, Steve?
Yes,
That's
it's- yeah,
correct
but, yes, that is a breakdown.
okay, so I'm just a little unclear. It's just number one, whenever we adopt this ordinance for the amended 2025 amended budget, we need to make sure that the attachment does say Schedule A. I don't think it does yet, because it's references Schedule A. I don't think it's labeled Schedule A. But Mayor, what's unclear to me is, I didn't go through and add up all the amounts that were put into the amended budget. So I wasn't clear on which of these three numbers it is. And, I mean, so do we need,
I guess I'm having a hard time following you because the total amount, I didn't add those either, but the total amount, my understanding, should have been the 318,465 because we have to amend our budget to reflect that. And
Right.
that should be the total amount. And that's the total amount as verified by you. Is that correct, Steve?
That's correct.
Okay.
so that's if we add up everything that's
So
put
what do
into.
you have? You obviously have found something. So what have
No,
you?
I didn't find it.
Okay.
I didn't have time to review all this and add everything up, but it just, I guess what I'm asking is, so let me just see if I can get this straight. Are you saying, is this page 12 of 12, is that supposed to be part of Schedule A of the ordinance and saying that 62,786 is left unallocated?
Correct.
Okay, so I don't know if this is the proper way to do this. So Mayor, what they're saying is that the table at the back accounts for all the funds. And can we, does it need a different format? I don't know,
Other than, well,
other than a
other than
table,
this, other than the table.
other than a table.
So I don't even know that it needs that table. I think it should have this with it. It should have the budget with it, where it's amended in the budget, so
Right,
that
so-
someone can read through it and see where we amended it in the budget.
Right, but I'm-
That's what it should have.
okay, but if there's 62,786 that is carried forward remaining, does that mean that there's 62,786 that can be used, this is what it says here, for fiscal year 26?
To be carried over.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so my
We
question,
will, Go ahead.
So is that appearing anywhere in the
Current budget.
2026 budget that we are also about to adopt?
The proposed budget.
Right.
Did you
We
include
did
that?
not, and we did not include it because we wanted to have it as a known buffer. That's why we called it out in this spreadsheet, so we can have that discussion, and we can put it to a line item if that's something that you all want to choose, or if you want to allocate more of those funds, that's what
Because
It has to go on someone.
it has to be, did you put it in this? Did you put it in the amended budget? Is it in the amended budget anywhere?
total.
Is it in the miscellaneous? That remaining amount, is it in here anywhere?
I don't believe so, no.
No, there,
So you didn't put it in here anywhere, in this budget?
No,
Okay, yes.
Sorry, to
Let
be
me-
clear, what I was trying to say is, I don't think the amounts on page 12 are all included in pages 1 through 11.
That's what I'm just getting at, so
Okay.
let me finish. So that amount, somewhere, you've gotta take that money and it's gotta be allocated somewhere. And it was my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, that Julianne and you, that y'all had a little bit of concern and we needed to have a buffer somewhere just in case we had any shortfalls, because we did not want any shortfalls.
That's correct.
And so it was gonna go into a miscellaneous expense item within the general budget, the general revenue budget. That did not happen.
that did not happen.
The 62,000 is not in there, no.
It's not in there, no.
So, and the motion that I made in the past at several meetings ago was to allocate that money and then put the rest in miscellaneous.
Yes.
And we voted on that and passed it, so it needs to go in the miscellaneous line.
Okay.
And just have that as Schedule A attached to their ordinance.
Under the general fund,
Yeah, because then it can be moved within the general fund, but it has to be allocated. If it ends up as a carryover, then that's fine too. But it has to be allocated in the amended budget, or it doesn't exist.
We hope we have it as a carryover,
Right.
but there's a possibility that there will not be, that we won't.
And we won't know until after.
And we won't even know till next year this time.
Well.
I know, but it seems like it.
The budget's 60 days after.
So now, before we leave this page 12,
Yes.
I just want to be clear on the second question. So you see what I was asking?
Right.
There we go, okay. So,
Is all of this accounted for in the budget,
Correct.
basically what you're asking?
right, and essentially, this chart does not really sufficiently, it doesn't carry out Commissioner Lori's motion that he made.
And that chart to
Previous
me should not even be in there.
Right, so, but then also, I just want to make sure, so I think I heard the city manager say that the 145,455 that we previously approved for, the salary adjustment of 7% and the building repair and maintenance, that is included in pages 1 through 11, that those dollar amounts are plugged in.
Correct.
Okay, so yes to those. And then, okay, that's a yes. This is, 62,000 needs to be in this one. Okay, that was what I had. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, thank you. Because that's what happens when you assume. I was of the assumption that it was still in miscellaneous. And it would just be found, if it's a carryover, it would just be included in what carryovers come in next year.
right.
Okay, are we ready now?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so do you want to go back to this?
We can, again, I feel that,
Sorry, I was asking for a paper, but that's not.
I'm gonna grab you one.
I could, but that's okay. I'll
I'm gonna grab you one. He can explain. Go, keep going. On this,
Mayor, we
So-
have it.
you have it. Go ahead.
so again, going back to our general fund budget, I included 3 line items to show you the differences between the millage rates. I think it's important to note that the millage rate is gonna have an impact on the CRA fund, and of course, those will change based on what you all choose. The other packets that are below that are are just that. So you have 3 other ones for each rate and a full budget. So you have the balanced CRA budget based at the 8.7164, the 85914, and the 8.3 or 8.4340. I think it's notable to ask you all to decide which, in fact, millage rate we're going to be going with in order for us to move forward with correcting the budget and being able to present final to you all. Well, on the 10th, which we need to post out if we make changes today, of course.
And as, yeah, last year, that's something else that as we go forward, because of course, we can't vote today,
Right.
but we can direct, but you might want to have, as we did last year, there were two different resolutions.
Yes.
Included, look at last year's, you look at last year's.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So do you want to go through this budget proposal, or is that?
I would like to, because.
No, I know, but you've given us a letter. Do you want to explain this to us?
Yeah, the letter is just an explanation to you all of the savings that we incurred, that we received last week. At the end of the week, based on that, we went with the lowest bid. We had some clarity, some questions that were answered from Brown & Brown from the presentation and the questions that were asked last week. I included those answers to the questions in the email as part of an attachment for your September 10th agenda. We are reflecting the $208,000 quote in our numbers and with our savings, and to balance the budgets based on those numbers. With that being said, again, deciding or giving direction as to which millage rate is something we're looking for to move forward with making sure we have the correct budget for you all. We are ready and have balanced budgets for all, and I've made the changes. They are highlighted in yellow in front of you on that first handout. We can go through each line item and explain to the changes that have occurred to balance the budget.
Okay. Get started.
Wait a minute, so we're gonna go over the new spreadsheets, or can we ask questions based on the budget that's published for the 10th?
They're really in line, very close, and what was published on the 10th was 8.7164. And so I know in the last meeting that we discussed, the mayor asked us to find any money. We couldn't find money, but we found some savings, and we got those savings, and we've modified our budget to show that. But yes, the budget's really, really close to what was put out. But what's in front of you now has been modified to include those savings, and we can discuss any line item you would like to ask questions on.
When I said find the money, it was either in the revenue or the expenditures.
Correct.
Savings are.
Correct. And we had some added, some line items that we added and some that we took away from.
Is this the 8.7164 that you presented to us today?
Today?
Is that different from what was in the notebook? I think is what Commissioner DeVito is
Yes.
asking, because are there any changes from what was in the notebook?
Very slightly. And the only changes are because of the insurance. The balanced budget had, of course, the decrease of insurance. We originally had went in with a quote of $222,000, and in our meeting, FMIT came in at $214,000. We asked both companies to present their best price, and they both submitted revised quotes, and we went with the lowest in our new revised 8.71. That also is carried in the 8.59 and the 8.43. All 3 budgets have the lowest at $208,000 for the insurance.
Mayor, I have a question. This has been bothering me since we had the workshop with the insurance quotes. Are we allowed legally to get quotes in that way and have proposers bid against each other? I thought we had to do either an invitation to bid or a request for proposals and have them sealed without discussion with the people who are submitting the bids.
It's a good question.
I've
It's a good
never,
question. I guess we need to run past on.
I've never
I know that
seen
we've
this.
talked about that before, and to go out into the marketplace and to try to get some comparisons.
Right.
We've talked about that in the past. Very possibly.
I mean, why do they have to be sealed bids? I mean, normally I've seen them come in and, you know, we've sent our managers out to get bids, and then they come back to us and they're right on paper, they're not in a sealed bid. We don't open them up at the meeting, okay, they're for everybody to see because it goes out to the public.
It's,
So, and then we decide it's usually, we decide which bid is lowest, and because we are obligated to our taxpayers, that's the bid that we take.
it's not necessarily that it's sealed, it's
No.
just not shared publicly, so that they don't have an opportunity to go back and forth. They should be coming in with their lowest bid, and that keeps it, it's just within state government and county and municipal government, so that somebody doesn't get an upper hand somewhere and usually when you get it in here, by the time we get it here, and whoever is getting a bid, like if Don would have to tell us, because we already are contracted with FMIT, that we would have to accept FMIT.
And their renewal is October 1st. The push was to make sure that we had something for you all to look at and find savings. They were going to get a renewal. Brown & Brown had already been approached from the previous city manager to give us a proposal. There has been zero prices or costs shared with anybody on either side. And both companies have had ample time to get their best to us. If the city wants us to go out and get another quote, typically you usually get 3 or 4. We can definitely go and have a
Just
formal.
before we spend any more time on
Yes.
it, get it from Don. Just
Will
let's get an opinion from Don as to how we need to proceed going forward. They both, I mean, they sat in here and both companies, my understanding, were not aware of each other's quotes.
Right.
But once they got in here, they were, and then they'd come back with,
Both companies.
right,
Yes.
exactly.
Yes.
So.
And I have the email chain for that as well, of both companies.
So yeah, let's get an opinion from Don.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, are we ready?
So essentially, between all of the line items, from all of our meetings that we've had, there really has been no changes other than the savings that we had received. In order to balance the budget, with the savings at the 8.71, which is what we've been working off of, we had, of course, extra revenue to spread around the budget. So we added some things, of course, in public works, training, some costs for the trees. The budget we already had in place for the 8.5914 was pretty much balanced. What we had to change was around $600 was the difference when we had plugged in the number with the savings. So we had to lose about $600. That's highlighted in yellow. Going to the 8.43, we really did not adjust or add a lot into the revenue. We did look at some options, and Steve and I both went through those options and felt comfortable with the water utility tax being increased, but we found savings along the expenditure areas where we could reduce costs without, and again, all these budgets do include the 5% increase that we had discussed for the employees and their raises for next year. Other than that, all of them are balanced, and if you go down in your sheets, you'll see anything in yellow on those tri-sections, those are the ones that have changed. And so if you look at the column M for 8.4340, you go to the commission, we reduced the training conferences to $1,000 from $1,500. If you continue going down the line, we reduced operating supplies under city manager by $1,000. We also reduced the telephone and internet by a couple $100, not much there. $1,000. We reduced $500 in the employee incentives in the city manager column. Continuing to go down under finance, we basically kept $1,000 for the both 8.5914 and 8.4340 for travel per diem. That's a reduction of 1,000 from the 8.71 budgeted item. And so continuing on that, we reduced the office supplies by $1,500 on both the 8.5914 and 8.434 under finance. And then we also reduced $2,000. We reduced a little over, I think it was $1,401 total for office supplies under utility customer service. And we reduced the line item for operating supplies under City Hall by $500, not much of a difference there. And I kept the executive salary for the fire. When I was creating the other spreadsheets, I had originally had 5% in for those, so there was a reduction of that. It's fine for next year because we've already accounted for his contract for next year, so I just left that alone, but still highlighted it because it was a little bit different. We added $500 in. That was just a balancing line item for other under both the 8.53 and 8.5914 and the 8.4340 under fire. And I believe on public works is where we got a little heavier. We went back to close to what we had originally budgeted in the 2025 amended budget of $6,457. We went with $6,013 for the tree maintenance, reducing that from $10,900 or $907. And then we had reductions in operating supplies for both the 8.5914 and the 8.434. $2,500 for one, $3,000 for the other. They were originally in separate spec sheets, and I wasn't going back and forth until I did this, and I wanted to see it side by side, but both of those did have reductions. And then we had a reduction in parks and recreation in the 8.434 from 6,000 to 5,000 on both building repair and maintenance and equipment repair and maintenance. And then I ended up taking out $2,000 that we originally had put in for improvements other than buildings, and that was going to be a new sign at the park, but we can pay for that out of Better Place Plan funds, which we'll get to after we get to this and discuss those funds as well. That balanced those budgets out at the total expenditure of $2,399,655, matching the revenues for the 8.434. The revenue and matching expenditures for the 8.5914 was $2,414,016. And then the budget changed, of course, for the insurances on the 8.7164. I don't recall the other number specifically, but it was our number now is at $2,428,995, and that's budgeted at zero balance.
When you were doing this and you were cutting these amounts out, you have a year-to-date through July. It's through the end of July, correct?
Yes.
So some of these still exceed that. How are you gonna make up that difference?
Which one specifically, Mayor?
Well, let me get through here and see where.
There, I think that's a good question.
And hold on, this is. Let me go to. So we know the aid, and I think we had already talked about doing that through our aid and reducing that. You come over here to operating supplies for the city manager. We budgeted 2,000. We budgeted 2,000 last year. Already as of July, we've spent 1,887, and you're only budgeting $1,000. So.
On something like.
And when you said earlier, so I just want to make a correction, because when you said earlier, and I lost it somewhere in translation, that with this budget at 8.7164, it was still a bare bones budget. There was not a lot there was very little, no play actually in there. So what we had to do, rather than just say the way you put it, the way you verse that, is that, I don't know, something to the effect you had more, we didn't have any play in that one. As we've gone down, we've had to cut away things that we felt that were necessary. Because when I went through this budget, and I'm sure my fellow commissioners the same way, we've spent a lot of time on it. We've tried to look at what we could absolutely do without and reduce and still provide the services to our community that they expect. Because if we reduce anything in here, keep in mind that our community is going to still expect those same level of services that they've been receiving. So that's just a concern that I have. There's several options in here, just like right here, telephone, internet, you've dropped it to 4,000, you've gone to 44. We're already at $4,040, okay? So, I don't know, I'm just asking, now I know there's some in here that we haven't, that there's been, nothing has been spent, and we hope that, that will present a carryover. We're not done with the year yet. Advertising was one of those, because we know our heavy advertising was this month.
Yes.
So I don't know, I'm just asking where,
And there's some things that we're gonna be very prudent on and try to find cost savings throughout the year, which we already plan on it. But again, the exercise for today was just to be able to not really make a case for one or the other, but just provide the facts on what the numbers look like. Ultimately, we want direction from the commission on how to move forward. And we do want, and it's our recommendation to make sure that we keep healthy buffers and to make sure that we're not going to hurt ourselves with unexpected expenditures. So I hear what you're saying, Mayor, and I don't disagree at all. I think it's smart to say that some of these line items, there are some give and takes on some that haven't been used. We've talked about allocations, and we found some things that have been done that may not be done in the future for allocating, but other than that, there are some line items that are a little bit over, some are a little bit under. And again, what can you get away with but still provide max services for the community?
and I also think that as we go through this, we all need to look at how many of us are operating on last year's budget? How many of us are spending in our households the same amount of money we spent last year and the year before?
Right.
I'm not.
Everything's gone up.
Everything has gone up, and so we have to account for that as well.
Yes.
I'm just very concerned. I want a very conservative budget, absolutely. But I just don't want us to get ourselves in a bind. And so that's all. But
Yes,
thank you for this exercise to give the commission, the three scenarios.
Right. So, Mayor, I have a couple of questions about the budget as it was presented to us. And I think I see one of the issues I was concerned about also in the new versions of the budget. Under the CRA, there's several lines showing ARPA funds for the CRA.
Were those past ARPA funds? Because remember, we did use ARPA for several grants, for some of the grants. We took some of the ARPA money. I believe the roof over here, is that correct, Christina? The roof at the music store. Is it previous or is it current going forward?
When we're talking prior years, is that correct, Commissioner, that you're looking at? Because we don't have any ARPA funds in this budget.
Shouldn't have
I
any.
think, yes, I think in prior years.
Okay.
Hold on just a second.
We had to use it up, didn't we?
Yes.
Well,
We had to designate it, we had to allocate it, but we did use it for there. Christina, what else did we use before we used it for the driveway?
We used
The
it
parking
for
lot,
on
that's
the
what
music
it was.
store, we used it for the parking lot at Three Bananas, we used some type of,
Water lines.
probably.
okay, but
That was not.
but it showed, I'm asking about the part that shows in the CRA budget. And I know that we used it for the new lodge. Right, I'm not sure what that is in the ARPA budget. I'm sorry, I didn't write down my.
But is the question
I don't know what they're.
that it was passed or is it in the current budget? Because there shouldn't be any ARPA in the current budget.
Okay, number one is passed,
Yeah.
but the other thing is, I believe at a prior workshop, we asked for basically a statement or accounting of how the ARPA funds were used. So, I just see it showing up as expended funds in the CRA budget.
Now, that's a different question, so
Right,
that's
but-
getting into, you want an accounting of the full ARPA funds.
Well, I thought we all did.
Well, we do, but that's, what I'm saying is what you're asking for right now.
We have a spreadsheet and we are updating that spreadsheet. We've had this budget exercise in front of us. Steve has it and has been working on it, and we should have something fairly soon.
Yeah, it was updated, last time it was updated is when we sent the annual report to the state back in March.
Okay.
But
And-
no ARPA funds are allocated in, no ARPA funds are allocated in the CRA budget. They were prior.
And then my next question, just generally, because we're talking about how do we balance the budget? How do we provide the services that the residents have come to expect in a, even though we have an environment of increasing costs in general, I guess gas and oil, insurance, this is a fortunate year, but it's not clear to me that we are using Better Place Plan funds for some of the basics where we could, I think under, hold on, I'm trying to read my own handwriting. What I have as page 13 of the budget, line 158, that says building repair and maintenance. And I believe that's
Where are you at?
Line 158, is that
page
right?
13, line 158, equipment, no, building repair. It would be 157, I'm sorry.
Under general fund?
Yes, under general fund expenditures, city hall, line 157, building repair and maintenance. It has $15,000. So would those not be Better Place Plan eligible expenditures?
They could be, yes, and we discussed this, but in any budget, you put in for unforeseens. There's a lot of projects that the funds for Better Place can be used for, and we already have around 60,000 that you all have approved to use for this building. $15,000, that is a buffer, and that goes in a line item that, of course, could be used in others if we go over, if there's an issue. I think it would be good.
Plumbing, if anything like
Correct.
that, right,
Correct.
so we couldn't use that for.
Correct. And so we that's why we put that number in there, ma'am.
Okay, so you're saying for those items, we would not be able to use Better Place Plan funds for those?
Correct. For instance, last week we had a heavy rain. Mel called me into the hallway to look at the bathroom. We had to call ServPro because we had water literally leaking into the wall and on the floor. Those types of things, I believe that it cost us a little over $2,000. It was emergency to get all of it dried up and to get the walls vacuumed and the air put on it to dry it up. That is what that line item can be used for, that the Better Place cannot be used for.
Okay, so in our Wednesday, September 10th agenda packet, in the city manager's report, there was a reference to repairs needed for both the fire station roof and the county offices roof.
Yes, ma'am.
And do you have those plugged into these new budgets?
Not until I have approval from you all to move forward with a number, but we do have quotes for the work.
So probably the county might be able to be used for the Better Place. And then we'll have to check on that, but the fire station, since we're going to be doing a remodel, that will not have a 5-year lifespan, so that might be a concern.
But it's a building.
And it's still, I know it's a building, but
Well,
you're
I
supposed
guess,
to have something, my understanding is it needs to have a 5-year.
Normally would have
Yes.
5 years.
Yeah.
It's
5-year
Well,
just
lifespan.
because we're gonna,
maybe we could ask Don about that, because do we,
just don't have the houses age.
I think if we replace the entire roof, that would be different than the patches, as far as the Better Place plan. If we replace the entire roof, that would be covered, and that would be done, because that would be your 5-year.
well, regardless, it seems to me like we need to figure out where those are gonna go and.
Hey, can you get an opinion,
Yes, ma'am.
please,
Okay,
as to,
Well, it's gonna go in this year's budget.
depending on when they can get it fixed.
We're not waiting to fix the roof until October.
Well, and then,
That's what I'm saying. Unless we get them on the schedule.
and Mayor, I just have an overall question. At one point, when we were talking about moving City Hall to a different location, I believe our city manager expressed an opinion that this building did not have a great future lifespan. Do you still have that opinion? Because, just a heavy rain causing $2,000 worth of damage, are we looking at that, being a recurring kind of issue?
We have talked, Christina and I and staff have talked about replacing the windows upstairs, getting our contractor that's currently working on the building to replace the door that accesses the roof. Those are the areas that have the most inundation of water and damage to the building. I will be honest with you, without looking and having a remedial study done, I don't know what damage has been done and what's inside the walls. I don't know. Those comments I gave you was just looking at the building as a whole from how old it is and what it needs, and really not knowing where we're going to be in the next 10 years. Who knows? I don't have a crystal ball. You would have to invest a lot of money into this building to bring it up to speed.
You're gonna have to, pretty much anywhere here in town, you're gonna have to.
Correct, unless you build brand new.
A lot of, exactly.
That's right.
Unless you build brand new. Unfortunately with here, and I think that's the problem here with this building's a solid building.
Mhm.
The upstairs has been neglected
Yes.
and things that needed to be fixed have been Band-Aid. And so rather than going there and fixing things properly and expending that money to fix them properly, they have Band-Aid things in this building. And ultimately, when you Band-Aid, all of you know that the Band-Aid will eventually peel off.
That's right.
And so we're having that's what we're faced with right now. But no, unless we build a brand new building, I don't know that there's a building in Crescent City that we could go into that would.
Right.
At this time.
We are gonna get prices on the windows, the door, and sealing any of those areas that have had any inundation and getting rid of any of the molded carpet or any of those items and seeing how would it be to replace that. Once we do that, I believe, and staff has talked about that the area being viable for use. And so we're working on that.
Have you been upstairs, Commissioner? Have you?
No one has ever invited me upstairs.
Oh,
wait till you see it.
just go over. You don't want to go up there alone, but.
It's very steep stairs.
Take a big step.
Yeah, it's worth the trip.
So, had another question about the, fire budget. Is there, this is a lot of material here. My question was that in the notes in the budget that is in the agenda packet, it still says, that we don't have the money for the fire engine and various other equipment. Has that been updated?
What's the specific question?
Well, there's a note in the fire department budget that says we do not have the funds for some significant, costly and needed equipment. And I am asking, that would be page 15 in the budget that's in the packet. And it would be,
You have a specific line item?
yes, 194 station equipment, the fireboat pump, do not have one. And then as well, 193, the new fast response vehicle. I think you had told us at one time that some solutions had been worked out to this.
Yes.
Okay, so this information has been updated in the new versions?
Yes. As far as the boat pump, the boat pump, chief and I are gonna be working together to see if there's a grant out there this year for that. I let him know, of course, when we went through the budget, that we just didn't have it in the budget for it. Currently, right now, we do have access to some of the equipment with the county. If there's something, a special need, then we're gonna lean on the county for that at this time. When it comes to,
We can't lean on the county is pretty much.
they're, yeah,
Yes, the county is,
helping us out a
helping
lot.
us out already.
They're subsidizing a lot
Without us
already.
doing the
Well, I
MSTA.
guess, Mayor, when he says lean, my question is, do you mean borrow something that they already have or ask them to provide the funds?
No, I would mean that if there was something significant that needed a response, the county is gonna be, they're gonna help us and they're gonna respond with their equipment if we don't have it, such as a boat that has access to water. This pump itself, we had one, it's broken up in pieces. Nobody knows what happened to it or how it got the way it was. We were looking at, and Keith was gonna take a look at it for me to see if we could salvage anything. But in the interim, this year is just not in the, it's not in the budget this year for it.
Okay, so,
Now, that boat is shared, it's shared, I believe, the county, that, somebody did the engine, yeah, one of them did the engine, and then we did the engine on it, the motor on it, or we did the hull.
One or the other,
One or the other.
I'll have to find out.
So-
The boat was donated to us.
So then that was it, and then I guess maybe
Part
the
of
county
that.
did that.
Yeah.
Now, the county did provide, or is going to provide, a new truck for us to be able to pull that boat. That is something that we've talked about. And as far as the new fast response vehicle, I've talked with Chief about this. We are going to do our best to stretch this truck out another year. So we can probably talk about that next year. There are no major issues with it. There are some issues, but those will be taken care of as needed, on a as-needed basis. The vehicle's running perfectly fine.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Roy said something, but I didn't quite get that.
I said that would qualify for the baseline.
It would, yes.
Yeah, and I guess, Mayor, could I say something about that? So my concern with the fire department is, that we should not be cutting them too thin. I mean, this is my comment to the rest of the commission. I think we have things that are right now in the potential list for the Better Place Plan funds that are not as high priority as proper fire equipment. And to me, I would put the fast response vehicle, and if it qualifies, the pump for the boat, toward, at the top of the list for Better Place Plan, because this is a pretty spread out county. I just don't know, like, so the fireboat pump, that's if there is a fire in a boat out on the water, right?
Anything along the water.
Right,
Where the water's
or
edge.
out in the water, say if there's a vessel on fire in the water, and you need a response to that. I mean, if it's on the south end of Crescent Lake, or if it's on Lake Stella, I'm assuming we're the closest.
We are.
Yes.
We would be, and I don't know that a boat pump, I don't know that that's, I mean, I think
Yeah.
we can figure that one out.
And honestly, it was discussed at a high level on what statistically, what's been in the last few years, what's been used, and it's not anything that's really been a need for the city. There are certain times when you have red, white, and boom that you want something like that in the water because of the fireworks and the barge, but it's not something that is needed as much as maybe alluded to. It's just not something that's needed. That's why it was taken out of this year's budget. In regard to that, I had a note in here, and I'm not sure it was wrap text, but it said that the chief was talking to the county about possibly an interlocal agreement, and I also have a note in there for Better Place ? I would like, looking at the needs of the city, what we really have some issues or some things that we need in infrastructure. I would like to possibly use the funds in other places this year rather than a new fast response vehicle. The vehicle we have right now is serviceable and it's working perfectly fine.
Well, didn't we have that other piece of equipment that we were gonna try to stretch out, and all of a sudden it became an emergency?
Well, that piece of equipment was around 20 years or plus old, and they did try to patch it up and get it to work, but one day it just broke. So,
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
Um,
absolutely.
In the fire department fund here, and I'm looking at the spreadsheet that with the 3 columns in there. You have The very first one, 178, for the chief executive salaries.
Yes,
It says 22 to 321, and then the 8.716 budget, and then the 8.594 and 8.434 are different numbers.
yes, those are the 8.5914 and the 8.434 are what the salary is gonna be for this upcoming year for the chief. Originally, I did not have these line items put together and was working on the separate spreadsheets, and then I was like, oh, and I wanna show them at the same time. I never adjusted it because the budgets were already balanced. So the 26 was just an added, there was added,
So that's $500 down here in other,
right,
on the two budgets that you're trying to cut funds from
correct.
instead of the other ones. Instead of the same thing.
Yeah, those were just left because originally it was 500 and we took it out of an old spreadsheet.
My biggest concern right now is in the state of Florida, there's 411 municipalities. We are number 15 with the highest millage rate, and that's at 8.434. If we go up to 8.7, based on how everybody else does, we'll be about 9th.
Right, top 10.
Yeah, and I just don't like that. I don't like the principle, I don't like the idea. But when we look at the difference, we're talking about $19,000. Right, between, or what's the actual difference when you get all the way down the bottom here, between the three?
Yes, the
What's
difference,
between the rollback and the rate that was used last year?
the total difference is 35,000.
$35,000.
That's the total difference. And I think just to echo what the mayor had said earlier, our original budget at 8.71 was a strict budget. We did add, because we went back and looked at historical what we got this year on that water tax, we added it back 4,000 there, but the rest of the makeup was taken out of an already stretched budget. Yes, correct.
And Commissioner Lori, it's been that way for years and years and years, and I don't know how it got that way. And I really, when you look at our budget and then you look at our city, I don't know how we change that unless we get some homes in here that, we get some new development, and then it increases the ad valorem. And then next year, we don't know what's gonna happen with ad valorem with the state. I mean, that's, we all, you two especially know where that is. So I don't know, I think that's why we did what we did last year, is how can we bring it back down? I was in a meeting this morning in Palatka with other mayors, and, it's a worry. It's a worry, and when we talked about it too, and even, our clerk of court, Matt Reynolds, I mean, he acknowledged, he said your valuations in Crescent City have gone down. Because they keep going, how come your rollback is where it is, and it's higher than our historical amount that we've used, but I think we all echo that same concern, Commissioner Lori, but at the same time, we have a responsibility, and I believe that through this budget, we just have to be careful that we can still uphold those services that are asked of us as a city. Yes, Commissioner DeVito.
So, going forward, one of the things that is recommended for budgeting is to budget ahead of yourselves, to forecast. I think Commissioner Lori said yes at one point when I was talking about this, that you're supposed to have some kind of proactive planning. There are some things that I think we could do that we need to figure out how to do to improve our tax base. I mean, Mr. Kennedy said to me quite a few years ago that most of our taxable value is property on the waterfront. We have a lot of low-income housing that does not pay a lot of tax, that's not on the water. We also have a lot of vacant commercial property. One thing that I suggest that we put our mind to is to do a SWOT analysis, not only for Central Avenue, which has a really high vacancy rate, but also for the whole city. Because, for example, in our strategic plan that we did, we said market tree-lined streets. There are other cities that have marketing programs. In the interior of our city, we have available vacant lots that just aren't being used. And I don't think we're going to find the solution to that, but a SWOT analysis, which is identifying your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. If we talked about that, we might come up with some ideas about how to get homeowners who can maintain a home at a good level into some of those vacant lots. It's been done in other cities. It has been done. And I think that is an exercise that's worth our time, because if you have people occupying those vacant lots or building houses on those lots that are already ready for water and they have water and sewer, that would add to the bottom line of our utility departments right then and there. And that would add to our tax base. And one thing that I think we should look at is an ordinance relating to rental property. Some of our rental properties are in the worst condition. And I don't think that's very beneficial for us. So
I understand.
Some strategic planning.
And I understand, and when you're saying commercial buildings, vacant commercial, it's commercial lots and not buildings, correct? That's what you're referring to, because if it's vacant, the property appraiser doesn't care if it's vacant or filled, he's gonna adjust it. I mean, he's gonna value it as a building, so I just wanna make sure from a clarification that that's what we would be looking at.
Two things, having a building that is unoccupied, some of these are not well maintained. If I looked at some trim notices, some buildings on Central Avenue have lost valuation. If your building is in a poor condition, the property appraiser is going to, reduce it.
I think before you go any further,
Yeah.
you're comparing other cities that have, maintenance,
Standards.
standards and things like that, that we just, for whatever reason, I guess we tried to do that. And that didn't go through. You have people that basically, if you look across our city, we have people, when I go down Main Street, it really bothers me, for example, okay? It bothers me that half of Main Street has signs on their houses, sheriff signs, no trespassing, sheriff signs. It makes our city look like there's a crime rate. And the other thing that lately has made our city look like a crime rate is ICE coming through, taking people out. So we have a lot of issues that are not easily answered right now.
Okay, but what my main point is, we have strategic planning that we could do to come up with some ideas to try to get infill, both for residents. I mean, the mayor said, what do we do about this?
And that's for a good day, that's for
Yes.
another day, not a
So,
good day.
and I would,
For another day, but
and I would like to point out, there is nothing, I don't think we can prohibit people from having a sign that says no trespassing.
But that's the thing, Lisa, we can't prohibit people to do anything they want with their
just like
property,
this across the street.
okay? They can do
No, the
anything they
nicest,
want.
no, wait a second, nicest man right there, he's worked on the inside of the building, and I've been looking at that boarded up door on a premier building in right downtown Crescent City that people drive through and look at, but we don't have, there's not really a whole lot that we can do, because that's another thing that needs to be visited again, and maybe we do exterior, just like Michael Brillhart said, and we do exterior maintenance standards. So, but let's get back to the budget. I need to bring us back to the budget, because we've got a lot to
I
go
want to
into.
ask a question of the commission. So when we went back and looked at the carry forward, and we'll be discussing, of course, in our meeting, the budget amendment, the reason we didn't use it all was to have the buffer, but we have expenditures and revenues through the end of the year. That was put into that spreadsheet that you saw. My question to the commission, and I was just having a sidebar with Steve, and we'd have to find out, I don't want to take the 62,786, and I don't feel comfortable doing it. It was done before, and I think it wasn't. Anyway, the $62,000, I want to put it in the budget and maybe add it to the reserves, if you will, but not account for it in the budget and change the line items to eat the money up. I want to make sure that we have that buffer, but it's not part of the actual budget. You know what I mean?
It needs to go into the current amended budget
Okay.
in miscellaneous.
The current amended budget?
Yes.
Okay, not this,
We've got
not,
to account
not
for
next
that
year's.
money in
Okay.
our current
Perfect,
amended
so we'll
budget.
do that.
Is that correct, Steve?
Yes,
Yes.
perfect, thank you very much.
And so then we'll figure out what happens with it next year in hopes that as we go forward in this year, that there will be that much to carry over and maybe more.
Perfect, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Back to the budget, CRA. If we go to our CRA, do you have a change, anything changed on the CRA based on these three
The only thing that's,
allocations?
yeah, the only thing that's changed has to do with the revenue, so we balanced the budget based on that, so you'll have a little bit difference, I believe it was, $2,000 for the 8.5914 and
We
somewhere.
need to know that when we look at CRA, because
Yes,
I think our CRA, in my CRA budget, you didn't include that in this.
no, it is not,
Okay,
it is
so-
not, that was just general fund.
So what do we have to cut out of our CRA if we were to do either one of those other two scenarios?
So you have to cut out, it's around $2,000. I can go in here and tell you, hang on.
Well, and you're gonna have to, from each one, so it would be revenue for the three.
I'm pulling it up right now.
I just took it off grants.
Well, I did have some other questions about the general fund budget, but we popped over to CRA.
We'll talk back.
I mean, they're not as big as some of the other things. Okay, where is this?
It's Christina.
The CRA budget.
CRA is look in your one that just has the 8.7164.
Okay. Because what I really want is my original CRA budget, because I had notes on that.
Is there a page on it?
I've got page, no, just go to the very back, I think it's in the very, possibly, I don't know where it is. It says page 1 of 4, but it doesn't, it's not
Okay,
page,
so I'm not looking for it.
Yeah, it's a pack.
usually at the very back, usually your CRA is at the very back. But-
If you're talking about the actual packets that you have in front of you, the CRA is actually gonna be behind the general fund. It'll be the next in line behind general fund.
It's with the fat packet. How's that for you? It's the fat packet.
Commissioner Burton, I know you've got a time frame that you've got to get out of here. Commissioner Burton, you're the time frame. Is there any questions specific that you had?
No, not at this moment, no.
Okay.
Yeah, it's after the use of CRA, or the general fund.
So when you went in here, did you show where you reduced it, how it's different in here from,
I'm gonna give you the number right now.
I'm gonna take a 5-minute recess.
Okay, I don't have a new CRA budget as far as I can
That's what I was thinking, you could take that off and stain it.
So if we could go back to the CRA, Mayor,
Yes,
to answer your question, if we were to go with the 8.5914, it would be removing $2,916 of total cost.
2,000, how much?
$2,916. And what we did, I consulted with Christina, we ended up taking those out of the improvement projects equally between all three of the CRAs. So that was removing $972 out of the improvement projects line items.
Out of the improvement projects, but not out of our rehabilitation grants?
No,
Okay,
no, out of the improvement
It
projects.
shouldn't be broken up equally.
No.
You should have a different amount for each
Correct, but
district. So whatever the tax rate reduction is for each one based on the DR 420 TIF is what you should have to choose for each, to reduce each district.
to match it, yeah.
because
So that was a total-
each one is funded.
Correct, I'll go back and look at that, I was in a speedily haste on that. I will,
So still the amount's only $2,000.
yeah.
2,916.
Correct, and if you went to the 8.4340, it's a total of $6,066 that you have to take out of
How
that.
much, 6,000?
6,066.
So Mayor, I have some questions about the CRA revenue. Just whenever I'm recognized.
Okay, go ahead, yes.
Okay, thank you. So I guess just I'm looking on the revenue page and, right, still the same. Speaking to my concerns that I raised earlier about our central business district and the low occupancy rate that we have for a lot of those buildings. I'm noticing the tax increment revenue for the central business district, which is our oldest CRA, is not increasing. So I would just say, I think strategic planning is even more important for what we do in that CRA area because we should be seeing an increase, especially when we've had a CRA that long.
If I may, Commissioner, I'm sorry to interrupt you. You're speaking to the revenues on the central CRA, correct?
Yes.
So we budgeted $89,670 coming in for the city and $90,983 for the county. The amended budget for the county was $80,000 last year and for the city, $77,000.
Yeah.
So not,
So it has grown, but what I think she's saying is that the north, but of course the north now has McDonald's. So that's changed it, so the north, and as you look, the north is developing. And plus the plaza sold in the last couple of years,
Yes.
2 years, that's had an effect on it. So we've had some buildings sell down there,
But appreciably, if you just, this is common sense, if you look around in the central business district, the central CRA, their incoming businesses are not coming in at the same rate. So that is, I'm just saying, when you look at the numbers, I think strategic planning and looking at digging below, looking below the surface and seeing why we have what we have is very important. Then I do have a question about somewhere in here, grant programs for homes, grant for commercial projects. And one, let's see, this is central, I guess that's about right. Trying to find the north, sorry, I think on page 3 or 4, the north CRA.
that would be page 3.
Yes, great. And then lines 53 and 54. We have $25,000 for grants for homes. And then we have 223 for commercial grants for redevelopment. We might want to look at that because I think Charles Rudd identified some homes that were in quite bad repair.
Over on Grove, and I spoke to
Yes.
Christina about this too, and Christina wanted that increased. It was my understanding that she wanted that increased because we have targeted homes over on Grove that,
They need help.
that need help,
That
and
would be-
Palaca just did that for some of their homes, and they came, several of the people came back, they had attended that, and asked us, are we gonna be willing to do that over here? So, and that helps with the blight also, that is part of your CRA. So that was something that Christina said before Wednesday, please get with her to see if we need to adjust any of this 223 up into that 25. I know there was nothing expended last year on the housing grants, and
Okay.
they have to be willing, but I believe she's working on that right now and how that she can assist over there.
But, and also, you know, there are some nonprofit agencies that Concerned Citizens has brought in before to help people who need help. And I really think that area has just, even, I don't know, even if we could do a sidewalk for that area or some other,
Those would be our
Access.
improvement, those would be improvement projects, but.
right, I'm saying, to me, that area needs more attention and could use more funds. It would be nice if the plaza is sold, you know, it would be nice if they could shoulder a little bit more of that. They have probably access to more commercial funding than the residences. And I guess, yes, if you look on one of these pages has, right, so I definitely would support increasing line 53 in the North CRA for the housing. Somewhere on here, I saw ARPA funding.
While you're doing that,
Oh, it's page 1, sorry.
on page 1.
Right, and it was spent in 2024.
I do want to say that when you go in your comments, before we have a clean version that goes out and approved, some of the comments need to be, I believe, I think there was one in the fire station, you know, I mean, on the fire page at the beginning about who you needed to talk to and ask questions. All of that needs to be cleaned up, and it needs to be a clean budget.
Well, it needs to be something that any member of the public
Yes.
reading would
Yeah.
find it understandable. And actually, if, here's an example, if you will look on page 3 of 4, where you were talking about the allocation of Christina Marie's salary, ideally, that should say CRA manager. Because in terms of preparing a clean budget, it's something that everyone would understand. It really should
That's
be the
not the
position.
name, you're right, because the next line has CRA manager, so it should be that, yeah.
Right, I mean, if you need to
Same
have,
thing with accounting and, accounting and auditing, you have James Moore, you might want to put auditing firm.
It's done.
We've got that on page 4 of 4 too, so. I would just go through and just clean out those comments. Is there anything else on the CRA? Does anybody have anything else on the CRA?
that's pretty much it.
Okay. We want to move on to, what's the next one you have us going to?
Better
Gary?
place plan.
Okay.
Now, this one, we made some changes because originally we had, a significant number. We had discussed all of the projects, including some from my predecessor. Those projects came up to a total of around $762,000. I didn't want to put something out to the public that was a non-balanced budget, so we took the known, which was total revenue of $480,000, $487.66, and divided it between infrastructure, equipment, and improvements. These are items that we need to discuss. I know we've kicked around a couple ideas about stormwater master plans with our engineer. We know that we have the painting of the historical South Water Tower. We know that we have our entranceway signs to get done. Those things are something that staff we can put together, no problem, but there's other things in there that, need your stamp. That is, are we gonna move forward in the equipment side to either get a clam truck or a track skid steer? We put 100,000 in that budget. That was what there was in there before. We know that we're doing New Moon Lodge. But again, parks are in here for the restrooms. Is that another grant that we can get, instead of spending Better Place Plan on restrooms for the parks? So what we did was we balanced it, we divided, we put 160,000 into each one of those main areas, but I wanted, I wanna make some good notes in here on what our strategic planning is gonna be and what you all are gonna task me to complete this year. We've got some needs.
So this year, we already had put in our budget the 20,000 for the Eagle Lion sign for the Better Place. So that was already in our BPP. Should have been.
Okay.
We did the sand at Dexter Beach, I believe, but we needed more sand at Dexter. I'm just looking at our capital improvement plan.
Right.
I
I believe there was something about the aerator structure renovation, that was already there
That's
too.
already a 3-year
Right.
plan. It's
this is our last year, I think,
Sorry.
that we're doing that. There was the information sign, of course, for City Hall. Our other two municipalities in South Putnam have a much better
Colorful.
sign
Sign.
than we have out here.
Yeah.
I have a question, is ours not working?
No, it's not.
No.
It's currently right now, no.
The computer went down, and Nancy was working on making the other computer work.
So
With that. I was helping her.
when you broke this down, budgeted, we need something down here. We need something, footnotes down here,
Okay.
that basically says, line such and such, this is what's coming, that's what we're looking to do with that.
Okay.
Correct, isn't that how we've done it, to where some notes in the bottom?
Mayor, my concern
Each category.
My concern as a whole about Better Place Plan is not necessarily that the available funds should just be divided into 3 categories.
Yeah.
Normally, for infrastructure items, we would have a narrative about what each of these things are for. And then in terms of city needs, what the priority is. Because certainly we have to fund essential infrastructure. And it's not clear, I'm looking at the earlier page, and I have a feeling the next one is not much different. We need a description of what it will do for us, and what the urgency is. And then, that's just, when Mr. Walker was here, he showed me the material that he did for, not Keystone Heights, Lake Butler. There was a narrative explanation of the capital items. That would be very helpful. But the other thing is, I know Mr. Rudd said he didn't believe in keeping any kind of reserve in the Better Place Plan Fund. And I think experience shows that is dangerous because things come up.
Well, but what he did is, and we've always had a reserve and a carryover. Even he said here that anticipated 621,000 last year to work with.
Right.
And how much they've spent, but what he has said, my understanding is that every dollar needed to be appropriated. Needed to be appropriated, whether we did that project or not, and that's what we could look at. But you need to have, everything needs to be
spoken.
everything needs to be spoken for.
In this case, this year, we have the 480,766. The notes were left original, for the improvement side on the expenditures for entryways to the city and painting the south water tower. We have a known estimate for that now, around 130,000. We wanted to put in another 20,000 for that for the tree mitigation that we discussed in that last meeting. I just left that number in there at the 160. It was close enough for us to talk about. We had a very top level meeting on this before. We were tasked to go in and look and see what these other projects were and how much it was. So we ended up doing that and adding all of them up to see what the total need is. And that is the 762,000. We wanted direction, I wanted direction from the commission, having history on what's been done and what hasn't been done to point us in the right direction on what you would like done this year.
Well, our capital improvement plan from last year, if you look at that, it looks like there was 434,200 with a final balance available of 441,350. That's what, so if you look at that, I'm not sure where you're coming up with from last year, the 700,000, the over 700,000.
700,000 is the projects that were listed and the new things that are out there. So you have underneath your spreadsheet, you should have something that looks similar to this here. And it has the
Yeah.
totals there.
Yeah.
Those are what the expenditures are. Those are things that currently we need and things that were suggested before on your.
So you added two. You
Correct.
added two, okay.
Correct.
That's a little different, okay.
Correct.
And saying that there's, the total of all this is 762,200, but you're gonna have $480,000 in revenue.
Correct.
So you want us to figure out what $281,000 to save.
Correct. I really want a direction on what you all want done this year. You've had history here and I do not, and I just want to make sure that we're going after the right things.
Okay, so Mayor,
Yes.
what concerns me is what I said before. I feel like we need some explanation from city staff as to which of these things are essential and urgent needs, like under all needed equipment. I don't know how to prioritize items like gas truck, rollback skid steer, et cetera. There's no narrative about this. It doesn't say what they would do, what they would accomplish, how urgent the need is. Then when you look up above at all needed infrastructure, the funds for paying the historic South Water Tower, those are a must expend because we're entering into the contract, right?
Correct.
So we're starting out with spending $155,000 or more dollars.
Right.
And when you say tree mitigation, are you saying you're chopping down the trees? What are you doing with the $20,000?
No, ma'am. The tree mitigation would be to protect the trees and what's there, properly trim the trees as well. It was brought up that there are issues down there with some existing trees, so we wanted to make sure that we accounted for that. We spoke about that in the last meeting. So we put $20,000 extra in that line item to accomplish that.
Okay.
Stormwater master plan, you'll never get it for $7,500. You might get it for $775,000.
I'm keep thinking,
But I guess,
and then produce the contract.
my fellow commissioners, I'm saying, particularly for the last block, I think for us to make a choice, we need some explanation.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Hi, Commissioner Burton.
And the 17,000 for drug enforcement was, that's for the side-by-side thing. So we need more information on this. I agree with Commissioner DeVito.
Okay.
Because I mean, it's just code enforcement, and I'm like, it might take 5 seconds to figure out what we're
At $17,000, that's not, she should be driving a side-by-side anyway. She doesn't really know how to drive a golf cart. And so the last thing you put somebody in that can't drive a golf cart is a side-by-side. So I think we have an option here to give her something that's a little safer than a side-by-side.
Well, as Commissioner Ward said, maybe a little more
Yes.
explanation.
Right.
To be safer, do we need to spend funds than that? I don't know, that's not my crisis
I
area.
thought we were also doing that, getting her that so that the code enforcement truck could go over.
Exactly,
gas.
so it could go over, yes.
So then that's, take that 50,000 off. I mean, and then once the 17,000 works.
There was equipment that Keith had needed,
Well,
miscellaneous equipment. I'll get more information to you.
All of that needs to be broken out.
yeah,
Okay.
and some pictures and some information. Why do we need a skid steer? I mean, we looked at it before when we were shopping for the backhoe, but we bought a whole backhoe. Do we need a skid steer? I mean, I know they have a lot of add-on things on the front.
Correct.
So we talked about that we
But
could
that's
add
in the
something.
back.
The skid steer was talked about as in lieu of a chipper, because the skid steer could be used for multiple items with attachments of claws. Keith actually just found a one with only 1,000 hours for $80,000, and it had all the attachments already with it. So claws, buckets, and also the chipper. So one thing that Public Works needs, I think, before most all that would probably be a clam truck.
It definitely could use a clam truck.
So, and again, I took this more as of an exercise to work as a team to figure out what those needs are. I can go on here and tell you my assumptions based on the history that I found and then what the needs are today and put it out there for you. I just
That's
didn't
what we
want to.
need.
Okay,
That's,
all right,
that's
well,
what, that's your duty.
I can do it.
I mean,
I can do
sorry,
it.
but that
No,
is
no,
to
no
give us
problem.
that, because, and look at this also, when you look
For
at this,
papers, I thought we couldn't do, or we something that great to do that. We have to pay those.
I don't think you can, I don't know that you can, I
Yeah.
don't know, I don't think you can, and so that's,
Brick pavers.
look at this as, from several different ways. Look at it as the general public reading this, okay? And while we understand some things, they might not, so you need to break it down that way. Also, look at this if we're getting audited and somebody comes in and it looks like we're giving code enforcement $17,000
And Public Works.
and Public Works that, the money, and from an auditing standpoint, that we're not meeting our better place. Because that's the last thing we want is to have that violation.
Okay,
But Mayor, also, some of these are very expensive items. They have not been explained in writing before, and also Commissioner Ward does not have the history on this. And anymore, and for one thing, I asked, she probably needs a copy of the existing capital improvement plan. If somebody hasn't
I've got it right here, I'll make her a copy of it.
Right, and she hasn't been provided one, but for new, right, but still, she should be able to have that to refer to it when somebody talks about it. And then for new commissioners coming in, they don't necessarily have the same history that the rest of us do, as well as the general public. And I need more information about a skid steer and, well, the other things the mayor talked about. Okay, so just, we need some facts to make our decision, more than just verbally.
And priorities,
Yes,
Yeah, the
that's what I
restrooms,
said before.
the restrooms in the park were for Holbrook Park, and we put them in there, and we held it there because we applied for the FERDOT grant. We didn't get the FERDOT grant this year, but if FERDOT's gonna do it again next year, then we don't have to spend the money. Eventually, though, we need to figure out if we're just gonna pull the triggers for the money. Although we've gotten FERDOT grants in the past quite a bit, they run the reason we have our parks the way they are. I mean, Fletcher Park, Eagle Line Park, and Sunrise Park have all gotten FERDOT grants, as well as boat improvement grants is what we've done. The boat ramp at Sunrise Park, so, and I'd rather not spend our limited funds to do something that we need state money for. So,
Well, I don't think it was in there until we decided to apply for a grant. I mean, that, they call it.
Well, and another
we talked
thing-
about it, yeah, 2 years ago.
with Colbert Park is that, and we talked about this the other day, and is, we had some residents that were willing to come in and do the construction,
So
for
that would
free,
be, yeah.
and they're qualified, to do it for free if we provided the materials. And so that's something that, price out those materials and let's see if that's something that,
Yeah, that's the case, then yeah, we can.
that we can do that. Okay, so then let's move on. If we're done with that, let's go on to our solid waste fund.
okay. This one's pretty straightforward. There wasn't many changes at all, if any, on this one.
Solid waste, let me just give y'all a heads up on solid waste. October 1, there will be no more recycling. They're not picking up those, Waste Pro is not picking those containers up. You can, yes, you can do whatever you want to. Mine's broken, unfortunately. They still are sending them out right now, but they will not. But you can do whatever you need to with that once that goes away, the recycling.
Well, I have a question.
Yes,
So if it's broken and you put it out with your trash, will they pick it up the way they pick up?
I hope,
Furniture.
especially the way it's broken.
And
And if I
what's not-
stuck it in the garbage can.
Right.
they'll pick it up. Yeah, they'll pick it up.
well, some of them are just broken.
Does that mean that our costs are gonna go down?
No,
That's a good question.
Because I mean, that's one less truck that they have to run. Because today I saw that truck came through and
I did request
it.
the one to two pools that you had asked about. I called the representative, I'm waiting to hear back from her, but I did call her last week and requested that information.
Okay. I'm good.
The cashies, reasonably crap.
Cashews, I was gonna put cashews, I'm sorry.
It's fine, I don't care. I'm touching them and rocking them. Thank you.
so where are we?
So nothing has changed in that.
No.
Okay.
And it shouldn't, because the, all this is $2 administration fee, we transfer that over to, indirect allocation. Indirect cost allocation.
When we move over to wastewater fund, we had an adjustment, am I right, saying this year, the adjustment was around 22,000 before, or is that just for the insurance?
Yeah, no,
Okay. So based on the insurance, quote of 208,000, there was an adjustment and, we just moved the funds to balance the budget instead of having, plus whatever thousand, we put it into expenditures.
Yeah, like see your note here, we decided to be conservative here and utilize the last known audited number times 5% for this line item. Let's take those comments and,
Yes.
I mean, you can explain what it is, how we arrived at that.
My question is, are we on wastewater? Okay.
Yes.
We're
Wastewater.
making water.
What about on the personnel services?
Really no
Changes
change,
there?
no change in there from last time.
Okay, now you've come, so where we were on healthcare, health and life insurance, that's,
We have
we've
not,
expended $17,999 this year. We're budgeting 11,200, and I know we were waiting on a new quote. Again, see that say, it says waiting for new quote, Sheila,
yes,
that needs to come out of there.
yes.
Where are we on that?
I believe Sheila received quotes from FMIT for Blue Cross Blue Shield. And then,
From United also?
I don't know about United, I'd have to ask her. Did Brown and Brown present their,
Brown has
That was
not.
United is there.
okay, yeah, okay, okay.
I haven't received anything final from them yet.
They only point.
First of all, the process.
Well,
Providers, yeah.
that's who their provider with us is.
Yeah, excuse me, our health insurance comes through Rider Insurance.
Yeah.
Ryder, I'm sorry, you're
Yeah,
right, you're right.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Lloyd, yes.
Excuse me for that.
I know there was a reduction when the original quotes came in.
For the health insurance,
Mhm.
I believe Sheila said, like $200 between, this year and last year, reducting health insurance from the quote we had from Rider.
I'm just concerned that we already know we've spent $17,999 the year prior, unaudited $12,849, and we're looking at $11,200.
Yeah, I believe we did change that number, anticipating getting the quotes from FMIT and Brown and Brown.
Yeah, we talked about it. We also talked about that possibly in this application.
Any other questions on this? Okay, continuing into wastewater budget. We're still in wastewater in the operational expenses. Is there anything in there?
No. The only thing we did, of course, we added we added a little bit here or there just to balance it out, to lose the extra funds from the savings and from the insurance.
Um,
When it says lose,
The balance was.
you mean like a portion?
We had a surplus because there was a savings for insurance where the line item changed, so in the
Right.
total, we just took that amount and added it back into the
Right, but you
budget.
mean apportionate amount into other line items as
Correct.
opposed to lose?
Correct.
Okay.
So
Just
when
wanted
you,
to make sure we're talking about the same thing.
cost allocation, we budgeted last year 145,000. It looks like we allocated for this year 145,760. What was that? Steve, do you know what that 760 was the difference?
No, I actually have a note to see what that 760 was.
Okay. Okay, let's go on to water. Commissioner Lori.
Utility tax. The utility tax Crescent City at 46,000. We have that as a line item in the general fund. So is it going here, or is it going in the general fund? It can be both places. And there shouldn't be two utility taxes. And whatever it is, it should be budgeted at 10% of the sales. So we either have the wrong number in the general fund, or you have the wrong number here. But it can't exist in two places.
No, we shouldn't double dip, and I discussed that with you. It's two separate.
One was,
Mayor,
one
can I
was
ask
sales tax,
Commissioner
and
Ward a
the
question?
utility tax.
Yeah,
Okay, so Commissioner Ward, are you saying that the line item in the water budget is a duplicate of line number 7 on page number 1, water utility tax?
Let me see. Page number 1. It is line 3 on here. Now, water utility tax. Which is, I don't know. What is what I'm talking about? No. Regardless, it can be two places. There's, on your water bill, you have the usage and minimum charge, and then you have 10% that you pay as tax, and 10% that you pay as the repair and replace fund. The repair and replace fund goes into a separate account. And the utility tax, I would think should stay in the water department, but we've been allocating it to the general fund, just like we do with gas, utility tax, and everything else. I think this was around
let's see.
But also, if we're being conservative with our numbers and we're budgeting the sales at 465, 163, then that number needs to be increased in the general fund for the gas area, for the water utility, because it's slower than that. And it needs to come out here. And if you notice, we're back in the audited numbers, it's not there. The other question I have was deposits. Like, if someone pays a water deposit, we can't spend that money. That goes into a deposit account. Like, it's not interest bearing. I mean, it's only $70 or $50, but that should be in there as a revenue line.
So last year in the revenues, I'm wondering what this, so last year in the revenues for the water fund, for 24-25, it has in there utility tax Crescent City. 47,100, 10% of water sales.
Yeah, that's,
And then it had water sales of 5%, 10% sales from maintenance.
and that should be there either,
Um,
which is not in the proposed budget.
It's not,
Right.
no, it's zeroed out.
What line were you on?
Line 5.
Got it. What does that mean, 10% sales?
That is the renew and replace fund, it's 10%.
That's R&R.
Right.
Okay,
And according to the established by ordinance.
right, but it's renew and replace.
Renew and
Okay,
replace are.
this is different terminology.
Yeah, that's what this says in the water bill.
Yes.
Thank you.
So,
And that 47,100, which you just had, that 47,100, is what shows you the unit budget. So it's in the duplicate. So I don't know, your state actual, where is that, is that being deposited into the, I guess it's just off the way in there anyway, but
Which line item, sir?
the water,
Number 5.
that's number 3, utility, yeah, it's going into the general fund number, no,
No, the,
water utility.
line number 3, the Commissioner Ward brought up, that's utility tax Crescent City. But line number 5 that he brought up,
That's the R&R.
right, but there's a note, that seems to be, that's counted as 0 for the budget.
Right.
And the note says that it's posted to the repair and replacement fund.
Right.
So that would seem to be handled correctly.
the utility tax Crescent City, there's something to that, because it's up in here also.
In the general fund.
In the general fund,
Right.
it's as a water utility tax.
Line 7.
Yes, which is of course a different amount, so there is something, and I'm trying to remember. Because it's either, this is the taxes, Steve, what is it?
I was just telling, we looked it up, because I
Taxes
brought
that
this
go,
up.
so there's taxes that goes into this, for this one that comes into here. I'm gonna have to look back on
I mean,
that.
it's,
Because we questioned this before, I'm gonna have to look back.
I mean, it's just like our electricity utility tax, that's one of the 4 constitutionally allowed or legislatively permitted taxes or fees that we can put in place as a utility tax. That's 10% on natural gas, water, electricity. It's just weird that we are the water company, so we bring it in and then but it goes to the general fund. So, if we had another water company in town, we would still put that 10% on the bill, and we would get that, and that can go to the general fund. Now, when we actually passed that and increased it, I can tell you because it was in 2006 or 2005, I was actually here for one of the meetings, I was at email, and I got grilled for this during my first election, or first re-election, first campaign, or whatever, saying that lots of people were complaining about this, because it used to be the state would only allow you to charge 4%. And then they changed so that you can charge 10% on water. And so it went from 4% to 10% to match all the rest of the utilities. And they said, oh, people were up in arms, but there was nobody at the meeting. I was at the first meeting, I was at the second reading, and nobody was there complaining about it. But
Okay.
we did say that it would go to good hand and to help maintain the utilities apparently, when it's not getting on the news, but the fact is that it should go in one place. In the general fund, we have the electricity utility tax, we have the gas utility tax, all that stuff. And also when we were selling natural gas in Pomona Park or Willaca, they levy that. So we collect the fee for them and it goes, that's why it's a pass-through if you look on the gas. So we just have to make sure that it's not duplicated and that's what
Yeah, just make sure, because there's something, there's something between the two that are different. I think it's worded incorrectly, because there is something to this, and not only that, it was budgeted for 47, and we brought in 34 already this year. When you look over here to the water utility, it was budgeted at 25.5. We brought in 40,838.
Well, it should be 10% of whatever the sales is.
So,
Like when it is year to date, we've sold $410,719. So it should be 10% of that.
so we have to look
Right.
at,
And the 10% sales for maintenance, it says it's 40,000 and that's 34. So there's something amiss. But I mean, if you look at your order, that is 10% one line item, 10% the other line item. And neither of those really, and it's my understanding, should go into the enterprise fund. Because if you look at the gas utility tax, that goes into the general fund. It doesn't go into the gas department. And regardless, the R&R needs to go separate.
so something
There's
happened with it, because
there's
we
an
budgeted
RRR.
for it, in 2024, and we budgeted for it in 2025, and it was in the water fund as a utility tax for Crescent City, so we just have to find out what that is.
You would look into that.
I'll get answers for that, Mayor, and I can email everybody once we get it.
Thank you, Commissioner Lori, for acknowledging
Yes,
that.
thank you.
Okay. Okay, do we have anything else in water?
Move on to the gas fund, y'all ready? All right. So gas fund, of course, when we went through and made our adjustments, it was based on our last meeting. We did have some increases here as well. We zeroed out the budget and just added them basically into, added them off of our operational expenses.
I mean, enterprise funds can always have
Overage.
overages, in fact, that
We want them
it's
to-
better to.
Right.
Yeah, and that was
To
a,
build up a fund reserve for each one of them, and then I don't think we have a fund reserve right now, they mostly at zero, so I mean, I would rather us in the future not be increasing the expenses, let's work on it separately, the revenues are revenues, the expenses are the expenses. The only thing that has to really, well, we have to balance the whole budget, this general fund, and we have to balance, and we have to budget for everything in the CRA. But the enterprise funds can have a profit and have a fund balance. And as you can tell, we go up and down on year after year, usually it's water and wastewater.
Okay.
That's why we've been increasing the rates for the last 3-4 years.
But Mayor, if I could say something about that increase of expenses.
Mhm.
So for the gas fund, we had a workshop on this, and I think the one place that I think we have a concern about is with the almost complete turnover in our gas department personnel. We need to make sure that we're funding the positions correctly to get the people there to do the job. But I think otherwise, if that can be accomplished, Commissioner Lori is correct, it's an enterprise fund, so it can have reserve or excess. The only other thing is, doesn't the gas department owe money to the city? And it probably owes more than is even showing on the books.
All of them owe from last year.
So, I mean, for the administrative expense. Right, but we've never characterized that as a loan. And I've said before, we might want to keep track of that, and the commission might want to specifically characterize payments for the utility departments or the forbearance of payments from them to us as loans. So that if they do make a profit, then we could pay back the general fund budget. But to me, the main important expense to fund, other than the necessary equipment, is to make sure that we have the right amounts to attract the proper personnel.
Well, I thought we were going to be seeing a presentation from FGU about a rate adjustment. And with that rate adjustment to be able to put a management plan together and increase salaries. So I mean, this is fine, we work with what information we have currently and what we have in place, but we know that's not gonna change. So we would just have to do a budget amendment anyway. But I didn't think that Katie was gonna be able to get all that information together in time, and really honestly, we have enough on our plates at the moment, we can wait a few months, give her some more time, and then we can deal with that. That's why I think I said at a workshop a few back that, the gas department is not really a huge concern in my mind, because we're gonna change it a little bit, probably, most likely. And did we include increases in the fees in that fee amendment?
yes, we did.
And that was based on what?
That was based on the information given by Dave Frank. And a previous study that was on the rate, and the representative that gave that study said that instead of having one large number, to do it in increments of a few dollars at a time every year, so it wasn't such a big jump.
And that's just on the minimum charge.
Correct, from
So-
18 to 20 and 20 to 22, or 16 to 18 and 20 to
I mean,
22.
when we increased it from 15 to 16, we had a meeting about that, we discussed it, and we made that decision. So are we gonna have that discussion on Wednesday night, I guess?
Yes.
Yeah, well, we're gonna, when we go over this, because it's gonna have our new fees.
Right, that's why I was bringing up, that's what I was referring to,
So, yeah, so gas,
the minimum charge. Right.
service charge, yeah.
We didn't change, I don't think anything else changed, just the minimum for the commercial, and the minimum for residential. Right?
Just the two.
Yeah, it should change last year.
We
as well.
changed, yeah, we went for, gas rate, residential minimum from 16 to 18, commercial from 20 to 22. What is this additional extra person and it's underlined? Looks like that's a change too, 3750. What is that?
I have to go back and look at that, but in the spreadsheet, but I believe that was for calls.
Yeah, that's
Minimum charge for calls.
It's another person.
You need to put on there if it's 3750 an hour, if it's 3750 total.
Or just that person.
Yeah, or just a person, or what it just says extra person, so it needs to be, that needs to be.
Per hour, okay.
And, since we're talking about that, on the solid waste charges, it does not have it, it has the new rate, it doesn't have it as a change. I believe, can you look at that? I don't remember if that was just forward or backwards.
I don't know, let me see.
But I think it's a 2406, and it just had it as that was the rate, and not the old rate crossed out, and the new rate. There, yeah, solid waste.
Solid waste,
Which is $2, and it was say 2406,
2406.
which is the new charge.
That's
So-
the new charge, it needs to have the language, and I think if you'll look at some of those old documents, it has that where it was crossed out and it was explained, it was added in there.
And that's what just did on the.
Mayor,
Gas.
you're talking about, I'm sorry,
No, sorry.
you talk fast.
I'm sorry.
Solid waste,
Yes, are you talking about the ordinance?
yes,
Right, I checked to see
that's
if
the fee schedule.
if the fee schedule had changes. They're saying that the change for gas rate is not, it's not reflected as a change.
It is,
It is,
the
okay.
way the solid waste is,
Got it.
but it doesn't show as an increase, it has
Got
to
it.
show as an increase, it has to be aligned with
It's
the
an amendment.
Yes.
So we have to show that.
To get to the property and the old rate crossed out, and the rate, which is only 70 cents difference.
Yes.
Sorry, that was off topic.
No, that's okay, it's part of it, it's good, we gotta get taken care of. Okay, what else do we have here on the gas?
No major changes outside of our meeting. Everything is pretty straightforward.
So now, if we're doing those rate changes on the minimum, is that reflected in here?
The budget itself,
All right.
It should be, we
I mean,
talked about that.
yeah, I believe it is.
It says current minimum charge $16 residential per customer plus usage.
Let's look.
When we went over it in the workshop, we said it needed to be increased.
Right. We have to make the decision about how much, but if we're putting it in the ordinance, that should definitely be adjusted for the income. That also means that the gas utility income should be adjusted in the general fund.
But I don't understand this, you have gas sales, non-tax resident. 527 is what we budgeted last year. You're at 475, after July, we had 418.
I think that's probably went down.
You just need to figure out if it's got that if it's got the $18 charge.
And we're talking about the sales tax,
No.
Gas sales, non-tax resident,
Number line 9. Right?
Yep.
And
and
also the
also,
commercial,
yep, on
line
11.
11.
do you all have the comments on the side, correct?
Yes.
I would have to say that it's on the current minimum charges and not on the proposed.
Right. So then that needs to be
We
adjusted.
can make adjustments on that.
Yeah, because in the workshop, that was part of our direction.
If you're on agreements.
So Mayor, what line are you on there?
9 and 11,
Yes.
You got it, perfect.
Yeah.
got it.
Can you look on your sheet there? On the front there, after you're done making the,
Sure.
I just want to see what the gas utility tax income on the general fund.
Okay, so we're saying that for item lines 9 and 10, the gas department, those are 9 and 11, sorry. Those are based on the current rates, not the proposed rates.
Okay.
Commissioner Ward, you
Yeah,
want me to
we're
go
gonna
line?
double check on that because
Where's the gas utility?
what happened was we originally had,
Budgeted $20,000.
Okay, so right here, we had on there that you were supposed to,
and what happened was when we created the spreadsheet, we had that $1 or $2 overage, so we flattened out every number to a whole number because the rounding was off. And so the calculation is no longer in here. Steve and I are gonna go back in our notes. We went through every single note, so the actual comment may not have been updated, but the calculation was. So we'll check back on that and put a note on there to make sure, because we did go through those.
Well, then whatever you decide is the proper number needs to go back to the general fund.
Correct.
And gas utility, and that needs to be 10%. But right now it's, what was it showing at? What do you have, that line 9?
Okay, line, gas utility tax line 8.
Yeah.
The 9 is propane utility,
Okay, so yeah,
line 8, and it shows budgeted $20,000.
which would definitely be different. I think it's 10%. That's a difference of $27,000 into the general fund, which would almost pay for the tax reduction. I'm just saying, it's math.
that's not our no, that shouldn't be propane.
Gas.
It should be gas.
8, line 8.
For $20,000.
And we brought in 20,000 this last year.
Right now, it's budgeted for $475,000. And whatever we decide the number is, it's 10% of that.
I'm not sure how we get.
I don't think so, because if you look, last year, we only budgeted for 15,000. So,
And what was the actual?
and the actual was 20,000 so far. The year before, looks like we brought in 19,900. So I think those are two different,
Mayor, if I could
yes.
ask Commissioner Ward a question, is he saying that because we are raising the gas rates, that the tax will then go up proportionately? Is that how you're getting the higher tax amount?
Well, yeah, I'm just looking at what's the budgeted,
What do we tax,
Taxable
what do we
sales.
tax, what do we tax on our gas?
it's 10% of the residential sales.
Yeah, I'd like to ask Dave what the specific amount is on that.
I'm sorry, I can't hear our finance director when he talks, because he talks softly and his mic is way over his left shoulder.
We'll need to talk to Dave about that. I think the mayor's gonna get him.
You still could talk louder.
No.
That was very quiet. I didn't hear.
Well, I have to say, it's nice when people are not loud and boisterous and, blasting your eardrums out, but on the other hand, we gotta hear. So, somewhere in the middle.
All right, we can turn it up a little bit.
When you're looking through papers, I know that's why you move the mic out of the way.
Right. When I do that, it squeaks. Commissioner
Yes,
Boyd
it's
does
just
not
a
like
lot.
it. Sorry.
It's really over and over.
I haven't touched it.
I know it's not, I mean, it's,
I'm trying.
I think everyone should get these things, so that you guys can't not be on the mic. See, when I look at my bill, my utility bill from City of Crescent City, it has gas, sales residential. It has the flat fee, which is $16 currently, Then usage is $10.32, so for a total of $26.32. And then it says UT tax CC residential, and I'm assuming that means utility tax Crescent City residential, and it's $2.63, which is 10% of $26.32.
Correct.
And it says there's also a gross rec tax residential, and that's gross receipts tax, that goes to the state, that's 40 cents. So that's up like, I don't know what math is on that. Whatever it's like. 10, it's like 4% or 2.5% or something, whatever the state decides, but that $2.63 goes into our budget. Because we have a 10% utility tax on all different. Hi guys.
There's
You know-
utility and then there's the
Gross
sales.
receipts. Yeah, I know. I was just telling them what my bill says. So,
So here's Jocelyn. She's
Hi, Justin.
our resident.
Hey, expert.
So-
So we have a question, Jocelyn, and Dave. Go ahead, Commissioner Roy.
in our budget, we have a line item for utility tax gas, which I'm assuming means natural gas, of course. And that currently goes into the general fund. Wouldn't that be 10% of whatever the gas sales residential line item should be projected as? Right. Oh, so that line item does not include the whole city, or does not include just the city, that's everybody.
That's included in Crescent City, the city limits.
Right. So the line item, the cost center for gas sales residential, that's gas sales residential everywhere.
Gas residential doesn't get utility tax. In town they do.
So that's what I'm saying, so that
Inside
covers the
the
whole
city.
system, and then whatever, but we can only charge and obviously collect that 10% tax in the city limits. So that's why it's not, Mayor,
Right,
that's why it's not 10%.
Yeah.
And then we have also.
Right, there's also non-tax, I know, and the commercial tax too, right?
here, Dave.
But that would make sense, that explains it. So we just need to estimate what the amount is that's in the city, and then take 10% of that. Because it's not broken out, and that, so we got the
And that's
answer
what
from
we get, correct. And
right.
I think that's where that water is too, because I think the water is possibly the same that we,
Well, water should be,
how much are, what is water? How much we tax on water?
It's
Utility tax on
10%.
water?
It's 10%.
and I mean, and how many, we don't have many customers that are outside the city limits, do we?
So
How many customers do we have outside the city limits? And do we still charge the utility tax to them?
no, if
Okay.
they're not in the city limits, they don't get the
Okay,
utility
but
tax.
how much is that? I mean, like 10
How many
customers?
customers?
Yeah, how much
10 to
money?
15.
Right.
Yeah.
So the vast majority of it
Is
is in the city, and we collect that 10%,
Now, on the gas, they all get the gross receipts tax, but it's.
Right, that
not
is the
on
state.
usage.
right? Yeah. That isn't, that's a pass through. We don't collect that money.
No.
Right. So that's why there's a difference though, Mayor, you're correct. There's some reason that number was not making this, but still, if we increase the rates, which we are, there would be an increase in the gas utility tax. And, that we take in, because if it goes up, they both go up. It's just not the whole amount that I thought it would be.
But it's something.
It's something, yes. And I think Jocelyn would have to be the person that would help you figure that out, or Dave.
We came up with what those costs were between each one of those, and we have a spreadsheet Dave put together on that, on what the increase rates would be, so we have,
We have to figure out which portion of that is in Crescent City, that we get the 10% tax. So, which Jocelyn might have to be the one to figure that out. Because I mean, currently, right now, we're looking at the line items to try and, do the budget.
Right.
And we have the utility tax, which is just charged, as you told us in Crescent City, on gas customers. But for the line item, we just have gas residential taxable. And we don't know what portion of that is Crescent City and what portion is not. But if we're raising minimum rates on commercial and residential by $2 and $2, that's going to increase that utility tax
Correct.
because it's on the whole item, on the whole amount. So then to what end that amount goes up, we would have to somehow figure out. But it's not gonna be that whole amount for that line item because we can't charge utility tax outside the city. So,
Correct.
thank you.
She was saying like Black and Pomona, they
Oh,
charge
yeah.
their own utility
Right.
tax,
Yeah,
but we
yeah, that's
collect it and then we hand it back to
Yeah, that's why it's on the budget, but this is pass
pass
through,
through.
right? Because we can't take that money.
Yeah.
We charge it and then we give it to them. So,
Because
which is very nice of us.
right, just like, a mail order company, you
If you're
know,
ordering sales
they
tax.
charge the tax and they
Right.
send it to the correct taxing authority.
Right.
We send it to the correct taxing authority.
Or
Depending
franchise
on the
fees.
state in which it was what.
Right.
Yeah,
But I'm saying we send it to the correct municipality taxing authority for these utilities.
okay, are y'all good with,
So FPL, they have a franchise fee and a utility tax in the bill. That 10% utility tax goes to that line item. The franchise fee, I've never been able to figure out what the amount is, because it doesn't make sense when I do the math on it. It's like 4.2% or something.
Black and Pomona Power have their own separate tax rate, so
Right.
that's what we don't like.
Right.
I have.
Is it 10%? I mean, that's the maximum. The utility tax is usually 10% is the max that you can charge.
Yeah, they don't charge, one's only 6%, I think,
Or-
because of the franchise fee. We do both, we charge both.
We do a franchise fee and,
And, yeah,
that's what I thought.
utility tax.
Those are all pass throughs, so. Okay, thank you very much.
It's not 10% that we,
Really?
yeah,
That's-
Black is like, up to the first $50, it's 10%, and then anything after that is a different rate.
And that, I think, was the way the tax used to be
2%.
before 2005. And then they, or on water, that's how it was a certain percentage or something, and then you couldn't do it, and then they allowed 10%. And that's when we changed our tax here on the water to 10% on everything. So,
It's been like that for quite a while. the
oh no,
10%.
it's
We have 0, so I can't tell you what the equation is, so I'm gonna have to go back and run it, and we may have not updated a note. So, but I will get that fixed and get back with you on that.
Dave, do we know when, Katie's gonna come back and talk to us more about, are we gonna talk more about rates? Because I mean, I know they're increasing the flat fee, but we haven't talked about per therm.
We're not worried about the per therm. There's no, I mean, you can make money there, but we're talking pennies, the others is talking dollars. So that's
not worth.
where all the gas systems are making money off is off the minimums. You know, it's not, you can keep changing the rate, the price goes up and down, but
Right, but there's still the, whatever, the system charge or whatever, like that portion of it that we haven't really adjusted. And when they gave us that breakdown of all the gas, public and private utilities around, and there's several lines that we don't assign a fee to, that
we can start that if we want.
I just didn't know, I thought that was part of the idea.
We're still waiting for Tom's actual final rate study, because I based what we wanted to increase based off the one from 2 years ago, because we're that far behind. But I know that we weren't gonna wanna do a large increment,
Right,
but still what we did was probably gonna earn about another 33,000 a year.
because last year we went up $1 and $1 residential and $2 for commercial, right?
And being we have such a low commercial,
Yeah,
we don't have 100 accounts, and out of those 100 accounts, only like 12 of them are what we would really consider large commercial.
Right.
The others are small. So even the bigger gas companies, their minimums aren't quite as high, but the bigger ones are a lot higher. They're like $45 a piece.
Okay.
So, but the money's not there, it's in the residential side.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
Thank you.
thank
But
you,
I'm, but I'm glad we did agree to just the amount that we did, because that will help us a lot.
Sounds good.
And Katie's willing to talk anytime, y'all just say when.
I think we need to look at definitely the pay rates and the compensation and some of the options we have for.
Some of that, what Tom was looking at as far as the rate increases and everything, we will cover those.
Well, that's what I wanted to,
Haven't
discuss.
received anything yet.
Okay. Just, we're ready. when-
So the other question is, this is interest on debt service. We had it for the 27,000 this year,
That's two, if that was going down.
and there's nothing for this year, nothing budgeted for this year.
Is that for the 1997 pipeline,
Yeah, that's what.
the payments?
No, it's not, It's not the, yeah, I think so.
Because the 97 payout, if we pay as usual in interest and principal, we still owe like $227,000 on that one.
227,000, I thought it was 87,000. 227,000?
It's up there, because we're talking to like, I think 2037 paying it off.
You know, what I do, what I do is, you know, my mortgage payment is I always add extra to it, and then that pays to your principal.
Even if we only
pay
had
off
10%.
your loan in 20 years or whatever.
Well, the other thing we can do too is, if you take the one, I think we only pay it once a year.
Right.
If we paid it 12 times, I don't mean 12 times that amount,
Right.
but we divide that up into 12 payments,
It could actually reduce
it
it.
drops off the interest.
Right.
It drops it off
Well,
faster.
I think we need to look at any options we have for that. 'Cause it
So-
seems like
so
there's
we
a
didn't
lot of
budget
money
it.
to pay.
But should we not have that in our budget?
It should be in the budget as far as the payment, because
It's down here on bond interest.
Oh, so, yeah.
That's it.
bond
Interest.
interest.
That's it.
We took
Okay.
it out of
It's
the,
there.
Yeah.
But Mayor, if I could,
Yes.
so what Mrs. Frank is saying is that, Ms. Frank, we could reduce our principal if we make a payment currently once a year.
No, if we make it more often, like, let's just say we're paying $12 a year, only
Right.
one time, if you pay like $1 every month, the way they calculate it supposedly will lower the interest because you're paying it more often.
That's what I'm
Is it
saying, but how
compounded?
many,
I'm sure.
It's a compound, okay, then
Okay.
yes, so it would, you reduce your principal.
right, but I'm saying, but do we now pay once a year?
Yes,
Is that
yes,
what we're
Don't
doing?
pay it once a year,
Then we
yes.
could pay more often.
Yeah, I would say yes, because even if we increase it just a little, not a whole lot, but just as far like what Commissioner Lori was saying, that interest starts falling off fast. And a lot of the loans, you can pay the interest all up front, just get it out of the way, then it's all principal. Gotta have deep pockets to do that.
I think even if we paid $3,000 extra a year, I mean, it you know, paid off a heck of a lot faster, especially if it's,
Sure, and I'm sure we could probably do an amortization schedule to see just how many years it would drop off.
right.
Kind of like your house payment, so if you'll, rather than if you'll pay it, every 2 weeks,
Right.
you end up,
Right.
you know, saving a lot of money. So this, if we paid it twice a year, we, you know,
Well, I didn't win the Powerball, so.
I didn't either. I had 3 numbers. It only paid $7. And one of those was a Powerball. I was so excited Saturday night.
How much did you spend on tickets?
I-
Pay back or something, your investment?
That's a personal item.
I was
Like
just wondering if you made that.
That's a little off topic.
I just lost
We're
just a
talking
few
about
dollars
budget.
actually. I was very fortunate.
So what I want to ask is, I know we don't vote at a workshop, but do we want to request our gas department and finance department to figure out whether we can reduce our outstanding gas department debt by making more frequent payments?
And find out.
Is that what we wish to do?
we had discussed possibly taking the interest from the money that we've transferred into the interest-bearing account, and yes, to use to make payments towards the debt.
I mean, it would make sense, instead of putting money into an interest-bearing account and then paying it out to someone that we have money to, pay off the money that we owe before we, you know, put money in the savings.
Right.
Because if we,
Anything that we have.
Unless you're making more on your interest-bearing account than you're paying in interest.
well, that's what Katie had said, you know, we need to find out what the interest rate is on that, what options there are, and what the principal exactly is,
Mhm.
and the dates that, I mean, we need the details, we need the dates. And if whoever has it, I don't, it doesn't say, was that South State, but is it South State, is that for, who's it for, do you know?
I don't think it's South State.
Was it an actual bond, or is it a loan?
The one is through, it's not South State, it's the rural,
Rural water?
Rural management or.
yeah, I forget the name of it,
Yeah, it's probably state.
yeah, it is.
Right.
US,
Can we find out that information, yeah,
USDA,
Yes, USDA.
because we have, well, we also have, yeah, a rural development loan for the wastewater plant, that's USDA. Because it was half grant, half loan, so that's $7.5 million we'll be paying off long enough for that, this is probably still there. So, guys, we got the answers from.
Thank y'all so
Josh,
much.
tell me questions, but-
Sorry
You
to
guys
pull you
do all the
off.
answers.
Sorry to pull you out of there,
And
but
it's not like we're gonna go home now.
And do you need an umbrella? It is
Of course,
important.
yeah.
It's fine.
Whatever.
I think I'll do a little paperwork.
Yeah. Right, so, Yeah, they're on to the annex. Steve has. Because Steve has to go to the annex.
Ooh, very productive.
So are we done?
There, I have a few more questions that did not get addressed with the general fund.
Okay, Commissioner DeVito has one question.
Okay. My question about the general fund budget is, at the workshop, we had asked to have, the audit expenses separated out from the CPA expenses. Has that been done?
For the audit and CPA expenses are the same. Oh, you're talking Julie, I'm sorry.
Julianne.
Yeah, I'm talking about the audit firm
Yeah,
that we have a contract with, and the CPA, Julian Klein.
We also need to mention, Brendan and Robert and James Moore, that we need to do letter of engagement from them, because it expires with this year. And according to their contract, they can do a letter of engagement without us having to come up with bid again unless we want to. But it covered 5 years, so that ends for the fiscal year, September 30, 2025.
Is it this year? I thought it was,
No, this year.
I think it's this year.
is it James Moore this year?
Yeah.
Right, and then Mayor as well. The concern I had somewhere in the budget amendment for this year, it said we're $70,000 over in audit expenses
That's because we crossed over 2 years,
because we,
We reviewed the budget this year.
23 and 24.
22,
Or
23.
23.
The bills crossed over. So they were still working on the audit when we went into the new fiscal year.
Right.
And so
That's,
the bills got paid in this fiscal year that should have been paid in last year. Is that correct?
correct.
right, but then I asked, for the last workshop, I asked the question, what are we paying on the regular contract plus versus additional time they have to put in? And I think the city manager responded back in an email, we all got that you have to look at the contracts. It does concern me, I mean, when you have bills coming in for those large sums, we should, I believe, make sure that we are paying what the contract requires. I mean, that we would need to review those contracts. So you're
Well, the
saying.
contract does say, it's if there's no additional work needed to be done or if anything happens.
That's my point, there's a base amount and then there's the additional amount. So somehow we need to make sure that those, to me, we should make sure that those are clearly,
Are they auditing
delineated.
themselves to make sure that they're charging us as contractually they've agreed to?
Like the mayor's our responsibility when they present the bill, just like when the payer presents the bill, to make sure that they're charging for the services as they quoted them. Then, just, this is a smaller item, I noticed in, I believe it was, it's either streets or parks. It was streets on page 17 in the budget that's in the notebooks for the meeting. There's absolutely no beautification line whatsoever. Traditionally, we've had a couple $1,000s in a line for beautification. And
It's always the first thing we cut.
right, and the city manager said that line was completely removed.
What line are you on?
There's no line there, is what you're saying.
There's no line.
Okay,
The line,
give me a line close to it.
I don't know where it was.
Is it under public works streets or is it under parks?
Well, I said, previously, I believe it was under streets. I don't know, it could have been parks or streets, but we have always had a beautification line, and for many years, it
We
had
cut it last year.
$2,000. It would surprise me if no funds were expended from that line in 2023. I just don't think it's appropriate to completely remove the beautification line, because we have need for beautification in our public rights of way. I mean, regardless of whether we cut it 1 year, that doesn't mean that so even in the 8.7174 budget, I mean, just removed a line.
Well, I can assure you that I wrote back and said that it had been deleted because we couldn't find it. I haven't deleted any line items out
It's
of,
in last year's budget.
well,
It
Just
was, and
zero.
then we had to take it, we took,
We zeroed it, but we didn't remove the
we
line.
didn't move it, we didn't remove it.
Yeah,
it
it
was
was
still
still
the
being
lines
there.
that I
It
deleted.
was already before.
Okay,
Yeah.
for,
We get, just to make sure.
Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
So for several years, the line was mislabeled as garden club. The Crescent City does not have a garden club, public or private. That, the beautification line somehow became mislabeled. So maybe if you look for garden club, but we never said that we were taking out our beautification line.
No, we took out the line.
No, I think it was legal beautification.
Pardon?
It was legal beautification.
Right, but it's, I don't find it in the current budget.
Correct.
So I'm looking back, even back to 2018. I
It's
don't
always
see,
been either in parks or streets, one of the two.
back to 2018.
So when we buy plants, for example, when the plants were, I know when,
Charles used that, that was for the.
Yeah, that's right.
well, I know when Mr. Rudd first came here, he exceeded the entire beautification budget. He zeroed it out because he bought $2,000 worth of caladiums before he walked through the door.
Zero out was crazy.
Well, I'm
They
saying,
didn't buy 2,000, that wasn't $2,000 worth of caladiums. Those
He told me it
were two
was.
boxes. That wasn't $2,000 worth.
no, he said it was. Because I said, I remember reminding him that's the entire beautification budget. It kind of stuck out, but they were planted in a number of different places, including the rights of way. But anyway, I'm just saying there is no appearance of the former beautification
So
line.
it was called Beautification Garden Club.
Right,
Back in 2021, we budgeted, let's see, prior year we budgeted, it was under, yeah, it looks like it. Beautification, it was, we budgeted 2,000, we spent 2,027 in 2021.
So it has a line, it has an account number on the statement.
Street
Expenses,
improvements, it has street improvements there, we're in that one. So
So,
yeah, look at streets and see.
okay, so it's under Public Works and Streets?
Yeah.
well, since it's not in this budget,
We'll look for it, we'll find it. It's not like.
Okay. It's,
It's not like it's.
we'll see, and the way they used to do, the way it was,
Right.
everything was all mixed in.
Well, if you give Steve the account number, you should do, because the account number's gonna change, right?
It should not have. So Steve, let me give you the account number for that.
Okay, go ahead.
It's 001.
Okay.
That's 0019
Okay.
-519
Okay.
-3492 -00.
Because I remember it being there
great.
and seeing it,
This is
maybe
yours.
it's on, maybe I can see it on the statement, it's because it's
Yeah,
right there.
and then in 2022, I just want to see while we're sitting here and it's raining, everybody's.
Yeah.
Oh, we're fine. Let me see where it is here, so. Fire. So streets, it was,
It'd be in City Hall,
City
it's like
Hall.
19.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
That's what City Hall. So we'll look back.
yeah, we had nothing in 2022 for,
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna check, because we have a couple, there it is, right here.
for parks other than just repair and maintenance. There was other charges, which we budgeted $2,500 for back in 2021.
Well, I mean, it makes sense to go down to City Hall since it's the Green Garden Room.
I found it under 162, which I don't have, and it was hidden for some reason, literally on the, it was hidden. So it's not deleted. I haven't deleted, we purposely have not deleted any line out of this process, so,
Well, yeah, don't,
no,
because we have to do it.
no.
Okay, so my question is, can we reflect that in an appropriate section of the budget so people can see that it's there and it's either funded or not funded?
I just,
You could add that in.
I just
You can add
undid
that
it,
in.
we can, yes, we will look at that.
But right now it's unfunded.
Correct.
Right. And, you know, it would be nice to put some money there, because there are some needs.
Increases in each one.
Well, actually, we had talked in a workshop about spending the $100 to, pay for a consultation with the organization, America in Blue, that would review what we have in the rights of way. We talked about that, I think we discussed that favorably. It's a nonprofit organization, there are a number of municipalities from there that belong.
When did we talk about that? I don't remember talking about
At
that.
one of our very first workshops, we did,
Okay.
we talked about joining America in Bloom, and they do an assessment of your beautification efforts. And for, it's really, it's not expensive,
It's a nonprofit.
it's nonprofit, and for, after they assess you for a modest fee, they can make some general recommendations about, what direction you might go in to beautify your city.
Can we, I'm
Specifically,
sorry, Mayor,
the
can we take that line item out of City Hall and put it into Public Works under Parks? Because
No, because I think it needs to be in City Hall, because the tree and garden board, that's what the money was for, the tree and garden board to make recommendations and to use that to plant plants and.
Okay, well, that makes sense.
Correct.
Okay.
Well,
So that's why-
usually you would consult them, I think they have some requests, but it was,
Right.
traditionally, it was either in streets or public works, because that's where the money is spent.
Right, I think that.
That's where the money is
Public
spent.
Works is gonna get spent. Okay, well, you.
It was spent,
I'm just saying that I think it's a better
I
idea.
think
I think
right
it needs to
now,
be somewhere. It
I
needs to be
think
somewhere.
right now, I would keep it where it currently sits,
Yes, ma'am.
for confusion, so there's no confusion. So I would just keep it where it currently sits, that's my recommendation. Everybody agree with that?
Agree.
You know, because if we're gonna talk about our medians, you know, they need some, they're looking pretty rough again.
Is that stuff, is that peanut whatever it's called?
Perennial peanuts and yellow stuff.
Is that what's in there?
It's, well, part of
Part of
it,
it?
part of it's in there. It's the yellow, there's some, juniper in there, there's some, what are the grasses?
Over grass?
Yeah, there's some of that in there.
That would really make sure.
You know,
A mess.
I was driving back and forth today from Palatka, and I know y'all are talking about going to grass. Number one, we don't have the expense to do that when we've worked so hard on this already, and we put a lot of money into the perennial peanut. But it looks the same way as that does, because you still have to have somebody mow it.
Sure.
So I don't know that the upkeep is any different. What they're doing now, though, is he's going to Margarita, and he's done a great job with it, but he's just kind of leveling everything off. Those, you know, the weeds, they used to be that Kevin and Karen would go out there and pull weeds, and so the weeds are really what looks bad. The rest of the stuff looks good. It's those weeds that pop up that grow better than grass, yeah.
Mayor, I have heard it discussed, and I think it might have been on the tree garden board, but it might have been by Mr. Perez. If the perennial peanut is managed properly, and that means allowed to grow to whatever the correct level is, which I don't remember, it is supposed to outperform weeds.
It will, it chokes them out.
Right, but it has to be managed to allow it to do that. So, getting the advice on best way to manage it might help. Maybe we are cutting it too short. I don't know.
Water grass.
But I know, like, the grass in my yard, if you cut it too short, it dies. And maybe this needs a different height level to outperform.
Yeah.
What happened to using, wasn't there an inmate crew that was gonna know?
There
what happened?
was, and I just
And hang out
asked-
for hours or
I
something?
asked, Mr. Martin to get with Christina, because Christina she had those contacts, and hand that back over to Christina and ask her to continue that we had approved that. We've got some issues. We've got Ronnie right now, has got a hurt shoulder. We just have in our public works, there's gonna be some needs, and like I was driving in today, and I was thinking along the corridor when you're driving in, to go through in those areas and clean those up.
Or just
pressure wash, even the,
going up and down Main Street, all the grass is from over the curb into the street,
you know,
and it's just a mess.
and put crews on
When
that.
I talked to the guys, I talked to Danny and, from Stark, and he's like, yeah, like three or four crews that kind of needs, every day.
And it kills it right there.
Right. Oh, I know. But I'm just saying that, but they said that, I
Greater
mean,
population and who need.
but like one, yes, they, because, the inmates like it, because they're out of.
It does,
they're not
and,
doing
and
anything.
the county has been
Yeah.
very successful with that.
Yeah.
J.R. Grimes said they have not had one issue,
Right,
one
because they
issue.
don't want, they don't lose the privilege.
Yeah, exactly. And so,
And just
if
as
you'll
long as
just
you're not-
get that going, I think we were piggybacking off of the counties, and if we need to do something on our own, if we need to do something on our own, then we need to do something on our own, but I
Or
do
if we
think,
can keep it piggybacking somewhere.
or if they'll allow us to
A day
piggyback,
or so here and there.
but I think we could definitely, utilize them. I was driving through Winter Haven last Monday, and there were crews out, or Tuesday, and they had crews out working along the highway, and it was, so, and that's what triggered that, and that's what I called him and said, hey, what's going on with that? So, but no, thank you, Commissioner Lawrence, for bringing that back up.
Yeah, they did a good job.
They did, they worked hard. They worked hard.
And the best thing is, they said make sure that they don't have a schedule, so they don't know they're coming to Crescent City that day. So then they tell somebody and they'll come, meet up, or try and drop something under a
I
thing.
mean,
or-
security.
Right, it's just, so they don't know randomly what day they're gonna be going anywhere. But I was like, well, that's smart, that makes sense, that's what they do as far as.
So do we have anything else? Is there anything that either one of you,
I'm not here.
you're good?
I would like a direction, just a direction, there's no vote, but a direction on what millage rate we need to be working off of.
Mayor,
If not, we're gonna be providing the 8.7164.
but wait a minute.
No, wait a minute, yes,
Wait a
go
minute.
ahead. This is to be done.
I don't think it works that way. I mean, this is a workshop.
Yeah.
We have just received these documents, and I do want to share with my fellow commissioners and mayor. I'm a little concerned about the amount of paper that we're getting when we sit down at our desk and have not, we got one set of documents to review and then another set before the workshop. So we work off of those, but the decision about the millage rate and what level to fund the budget, I think that's something that we have to discuss as a commission at a meeting.
You need to come prepared for all three.
Okay, we will
Come prepared for all three.
You got it. Yes, ma'am.
Um,
And what we provided was off of what we had been working on, which was the rollback rate. So we'll be, just like today, we'll have the information for all three. We'll go back to our notes on some of the rates in the enterprise funds and things and some of the other notes and clean it up, but we'll be.
And also, what decision we make Wednesday is tentative, until we finally adopt it. There can still be changes made between Wednesday and Wednesday 27th.
The
Wait a minute.
25th, we can give directive, we can change it during the meeting. So during the meeting, we can change it,
But
but once we've
But
done
those are
that, nothing
amendments.
changes, yeah.
Right, once we make the amendments on September 10th, that's first reading,
Yeah.
those are the amendments.
That's it,
We are done
that's
on
it.
September
We're
10th.
done.
Because as well, we have to advertise what our changes are.
But if we make a decision, if we change something on Wednesday,
We have the ability,
Well, that's first reading.
that's our first reading. We
That's
have
all
the
I'm saying.
ability at that meeting to make changes. After that, it's done.
Right,
And
so.
we have no other options.
Right, so for example, if Commissioner Moore, wants to put more money in improving homes near park, then she can do that. Or she can make that motion to make that amendment to the budget. That's what first reading is all about. So, and hopefully, we'll see some of the changes that we requested. Mayor, I have
I know we're
one,
ready to stop running the conflict in this workshop.
well, I have one question for the mayor,
Yes.
so hopefully get something out of the way. Well, Mr. Lloyd, we certainly talked a lot about water rates, so hold on, real quick question. Winn-Dixie,
I knew you were gonna ask me something.
so, and you're ready with an answer, right?
I am not ready for an answer. I was going to be today and I'm not. So I will have an answer by Wednesday.
Okay,
I'll have an answer by Wednesday.
the other,
Maybe.
okay, the other thing is, this didn't exactly get on the agenda, but, I mean, if we want to have something to say at the delegation meeting, we need to decide what we're going to say at the delegation.
That's on the agenda.
It's kind of on the agenda.
Yeah, we don't have anything in there, but if we have a placeholder there on the agenda, we have to talk about that.
Yeah.
You're gonna be ready to come with us with your recommendations.
I'll be ready.
And we saw that you.
I
Yes,
just threw out a couple of things. I don't necessarily think they're the most, I mean, they're important. They might not be the most important, and we have to, you know.
I know ride solutions, we will encourage the ride solutions. That can be part of our conversation. First and foremost, we've got to thank them for, how we were the only municipality that was taken care of last year.
Absolutely.
So,
I think we
but-
also want to be light on water, and wastewater projects. As Tom Lee told us last time when we were standing out there, don't bring this stuff to us, all it'll be to get funded.
yeah, we did.
Still, I think it was kind of embarrassing.
Stormwater,
Like,
I wasn't embarrassed.
well,
Everybody came
well,
to
it
us. I mean, everybody came, that's a basic need that every
No, I
community
understand,
has.
but we have not gone through the process of applying to FDP programs. And that's what the point that we made was that money had been allocated to that, and it is a grant process, and we had never applied for those projects. It's really the way you're supposed to kind of go about things, and he was just encouraging that. So I just don't follow his instructions, we were standing out there, and he's, now listen, folks, this is what you guys should do and not do, another not.
Well, that's okay.
And
We just say thank you.
And we got some, and we got
I'm
some,
just saying,
so.
I think we should maybe not load up the whole thing with water and sewer projects.
I think right now, one of our big issues is stormwater. Unfortunately, we don't have a stormwater, study yet.
Right.
For
So-
stormwater,
Anyway, but we do plan to at least
to talk
get a
about,
game plan.
yes.
So,
And he's supposed to have been working on it.
okay, well, I mean, we have to say what our priorities are and
So this was
something.
meeting next week.
It's the 19th. It's on Friday morning, which is unusual. Usually it's in the
I
afternoon.
was wondering about that,
It's
when I
on
saw,
Friday
I put
morning.
that on my calendar, I'm like, why?
Well,
But, so that's okay, everybody has other things,
Yeah.
so.
right, but all of our two-person legislative delegation, they have multiple counties. So I'm assuming we have to fit in. for-
And everything's early this year too.
Yes.
It's early. Right in the middle of budget season, so.
Yeah, so it's just like, when I saw that on the thing, I was like,
I will say this, I did get to go, I guess I can talk about it on Wednesday, but I did get to go and tour the new animal facility today.
all right,
And yes, and, very nice, very nice. I hope to have it open by the end of the year.
Okay.
Not sooner, not sooner. I mean,
I know Gerald.
Well, there's a starving cat right in back of this building. I had to take great care to make sure I did not run over it. It looks pitiful. One minute.
okay, are we, done? If not, I'm gonna go ahead and. Anyway, we're done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I need y'all.
That's my prerogative, right?